I have a theory at Henley, and I would really like to see some data on this. The more tanned crew normally wins. Call me out if you think I'm wrong, but I'm thinking to myself, like, normally you get quicker on training camps, right? So normally when a club will get back from a training camp, everybody's just topped up their tan and they all look great. I think more tanned crews normally go faster.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Last Stroke Counts. Gear up, because we have the people's champion in the house once again. Please welcome Mr. Dave Bell to the podcast.
It's great to be back. Thanks very much, guys.
Great to have you. Second returning guest. But yeah, just for a little bit of change of pace. We obviously realised we've had some heavy hitters in the last few episodes, and it's been awesome to hear the stories and the highs and lows, and certainly it's a lot of difficult bits that come with rowing. So we thought it'd just be fun to kind of maybe change direction and just talk about some of the fun bits and some of the hilarious things that come up from spending that much time with the same group of people, and the in-jokes and things like that, and just maybe just to show the other side of it at some point. Yeah, that's kind of what we thought we'd get on with today.
Exactly. It's not just hard work and no fun. Sometimes it can be more hard fun and no work.
Yeah, in the absence of any inspiring, successful rowers, you can get me on as a change of pace. Thank you very much, guys.
No worries. We'll do it again whenever we run out of guests.
I'll make you the house regular. No, we had a lot of feedback from your episode. There's a lot of people that know you. Like we were just saying before we started, there's a lot of, you get to hear some stories embellished in incredible ways that originally weren't like that. I remember, have you heard the story of how Peter Haining went and slept at the house of one of his competitors?
Oh my God. He did the after dinner speech at Henley Rowing Club like 13 years ago, and he told this story, but I know the one you mean. I remember it being brilliant.
So I heard it. So the story goes that he's a lightweight rower for Britain. One of his closest rivals was an Irish rower, and he found out when this Irish rower was away on training camp, and he travelled over to his mum and dad's house, rang the door, and his mum answered, and apparently was like, "Hey, I'm a really good friend of your son's. He said while he's away, I could stay here and train." And she was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense, yeah, whatever." So he then spends like a week living with his mum, eating her dinners, like sleeping in his bed and training down there. And then apparently, like writing a message in his training diary to him or something like, "Ha," or whatever. And I'd heard versions of this story which said, one is it's that much, but then there's a version where someone tells me, and then what he did was he took all the bolts out of his bed and like left it like assembled. But then when he came back, his bed collapsed. And then I heard another one where he then took those bolts with him to the start line of Worlds that year. And then at the start line holds them up and was like, "Hey, are you missing these?" And throws them in the water. And then recently, I think through the podcast or talking to someone who'd come on the podcast, said, well, no, like actually, because then you're like, well, how much of this is true? Because I don't think he probably took bolts to the world start line, but like, where's the truth and where's it not? And they basically said that first bit is true. He did go and stay with his mum. He did convince her that he was allowed to be there. He did write a note in his training diary and then just buggered off.
It's great how these stories that we have, though. I mean, we all know so many people through the sport. These stories will always go around. And it's almost like every time the story gets told, a little part of it's going to get exaggerated or twisted. And sometimes these stories come back whole circle. I've heard stories about myself. But I think, well, that's nothing like what actually happened, but they're funny. Like the story, when you talk about Peter Haining, my Peter Haining recollection is he was on a training camp a while ago, and apparently I think he told this story. He did tell this story in his speech, but they had this game that they played on training camp. They're sort of out in the mountains, and they played this game with each other where they'd try and sneak the most sort of obscure random objects into each other's rooms on camp. So you'd kind of come home and it'd be like like a bucket and spade or something, or like a fence post. He'd come in, and he just thought, I'm just going to kick this up a notch. I'm just going to take this way over the top. And he lured a horse from the local, like some local farm, into the huts that they were staying in, and just put it in one of the teammates' rooms. So his teammate comes back one day and there's this massive horse just in the middle of the room. The horse obviously freaks out because it has no idea what's going on and just sprays shit all over the room.
So Alex Partridge told us the story. So it was up at Silveretta. When they first used to start going there, the only thing up there was like some army like porter cabin huts. It was like really, really basic. So yeah, I don't even know if Alex remembered who'd done it.
No, he didn't remember who was done
to. Literally straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, there you go. So there's another, like, Alex had told us this story but didn't quite know the
I heard about the People's Champion story that they were like a trumpet. He got carried out on a throne.
No, there was a trumpet.
Also, there were trumpets.
It was a bugle. It was a bugle. We got to be specific. A bugle's a small trumpet, I think. I don't know. I'm learning the saxophone at the minute, and so I should know my brass instruments. But,
Okay.
Yeah, so a chap called Nick Middleton. I don't know whether he could already play the bugle or whether he'd just gone out of his way to actually learn the bugle specifically for this purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, he marched me out playing a little sort of tune on the bugle to sort of, rally up the little tunnel of people we had while I was boating.
There was easily 100 people there.
That's wicked. Yeah, but you didn't get carried out on a throne.
I didn't get carried
So
out.
did you hear that bit?
Yeah.
I see. There you go. Yeah.
I heard about the throne and stuff, but
If we'd have had more time to organise it, it would have been great to like get one of those like thrones on the poles. I really wanted to boat through a just sort of turn like because what was it? Bay A single scullers were boating out of that year. Just have like a dry ice machine on the edge of the boat ends, and the whole tunnel of people's like, like they do in the Globo Gym Purple Cobras.
yes.
We are the Global Gym Purple Cobras, and we will rock you. And everybody's just like, can you imagine boating through like dry ice and you've got like a tunnel of 100 people just doing that though? Malcolm Howard wouldn't have known what hit him. I mean, he would because he still won by 4.5 lengths, but he'd have been more psyched.
I think that would have been hilarious.
Introducing laser and taser.
So that guy's named Blazer, Taser, and all kinds of other razors.
So I think it's likely that maybe Nick Middleton even like gone out of his way to get musical lessons for that exact occasion a few months before.
Probably, yeah. We took it out of marketing budget to pay for him, so
Yeah.
I definitely I'm thinking now, like again with the podcast and like talking to rowers, I sort of like this. Something comes up and it reminds me of a story, and I kind of want to tell this story, but I'm at the same point where it's like I have no idea like how much of that is actually true. Like I can't remember if I got it, if the person who told me was involved or they've heard it from someone else. And you're a bit like, I don't know if I should tell that, but I think it sounds like there's some truth in all of the big ones, but how much?
Well, I tried to connect with Peter Haining on LinkedIn, so this is going to be in the works. Maybe we'll get this story firsthand through.
So poor Peter Haining's opening up his LinkedIn DMs, and there's somebody there saying, "Did you get a horse to shit in your friend's room?" Is that how you opened?
That's also not the only. That's not the only rowing related horse story I've heard. Someone else told me this year. I won't name the club. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But same thing. They one of the juniors thought it would be hilarious whilst on camp to lure this horse into. There was like a long corridor that all the rooms were on. There was a fire exit at one end and reception at the other end, but with the door. So he's lured him into this cupboard. He was the last one to leave before the session, so he's then shut the door and left for like 2 hours. The horse can't even turn round, so he loses his absolute shit, flies up and down this hallway, smashing the shit out of like everything. They then come back, see this happen.
bad.
Obviously, kids like, you're out. But I can't imagine how much the rowing club would have had to pay in damages.
God damn. It's kind of funny. We hear these wild stories about sort of, generations that came before us, but do you think the next sort of generation of rowers, I guess those that are sort of coming up now, do you think they're going to be sharing sort of the legendary stories of our generation?
Well, yeah, because to you, it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but once it's been embellished 17 times, it's a pretty fantastic story to tell now.
And also, we're going to share them out through this podcast. I mean, horses just must be really gullible.
I have no horse-related stories personally.
You don't?
No.
Oh.
I was on training camp in a Viz one year, and all the like rooms have like a double door that opened out to a lawn, and there's a farmer's field on the other side. And one afternoon we had the afternoon off. you could see that when the horse was like super pregnant, just starts like making a lot of noise and moaning and stuff, and literally watched it give birth in front of us. And like within about 15 minutes of the horse hitting the ground, it was up and
got
walking
a
around.
fall as well, haven't they? Someone should be employed to catch them.
It was up and shaking around in like 15 minutes. And I remember thinking like how useless it takes humans like 10 years at least to have any level of being able to look after yourself. Like even as a 10-year-old, you're not really capable of it.
Yeah.
And like this horse is just wandering around after 15 minutes.
Yeah, I've watched enough David Attenborough documentaries of like baby turtles, like literally the millisecond they're out the egg, they're like legging it to the beach because they know there's like snakes trying to get them. It's like they're 2 minutes old and they already know what to do.
Yeah.
We are a pretty useless species, if you think about it.
But seeing as you mentioned falling a long way, we were discussing before, it's just something else. Again, like this is a story which I know and I've heard, and I think I know who told it to me. I'm not 100% whether it was him that did it or who's telling us about a friend that did it, but shout out to Nico Wright, who said that on a night out, when asked what his job was by a girl, he would say that he was a baby giraffe catcher at the local zoo. And then they would also obviously be like, that's bullshit. Like, what do you mean? And then he had this little story prepared that would be like, well, you think about how long a drop it is for a giraffe to when they give baby. So I work at this zoo and obviously, I work and clean them out. But like a big part of my job is making sure that I catch the babies when they're pregnant and stuff. And then to further like reinstate that this was true, he then would have already put on his phone a screenshot. His like background of his phone would have been like a baby deer to like reinforce this. I'm not sure I can condone like lying horrific. I think probably by the end of it, it's like a foot in the door, isn't it? Like, I don't think she's going to believe forever.
But like everybody loves baby giraffes, right? I mean, forget his like very successful investment banking career. Like, if you work with baby giraffes, that's probably like that's more fun.
The pinnacle of your career.
You can imagine being like 6 months in, you'd be like, Dave, I'm in a bit of a pickle here. I'm now 6 months into a pretty long-term, pretty like high-level relationship, and she still thinks I catch giraffes. Like, you'd be like, how do I get out of this one?
I had a bit of a funny one like that a while ago. I remember when we were at Cambridge, we got told that when they announce that the cruise, the tabloid papers do have a little bit of a tendency of trying to sort of dig up your social media and having a little bit of a rummage through. They try to find some dirt on you, and it's like, it's not cool. I don't like that sort of media. But
some old fancy dress that was a bit inappropriate, something like that. Whatever.
Yeah. So we were all told to like go back through your historical social media, clean anything, try and make your social media private, all of that. And so we all did that. And as an extra,
how many terabytes of photos did you have to delete?
There's an extra layer of precaution. I actually had to change. I changed my name on Facebook. I changed from Dave Bell to Dale Bev instead. And I forgot that your Facebook connects to your Tinder. So one night, and I didn't realize my Tinder had automatically updated as well. So one night I go out on this day and we had a really nice time. And at the end of it, she says, I had a really lovely time, Dale. I'm thinking, oh shit. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to explain that that's not actually my name. And in hindsight, I probably should have just explained it.
But it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
when you let it go too long.
I'd let it go too long, just like you said. And I thought, I don't know what to do. I just can't see her again now. So I didn't.
So talking about awkward first dates, I think we should definitely mention the one I had at the end.
Oh, you've had many awkward first dates. But take your pick.
So, what was it? My first mistake was we went on a night out and I met this girl and my phone had died of battery. So I got I think I got you to take her phone number down. Mm-hmm. Me and my innocentness thought that, Dave will just keep that number for me and then just give it to me when I need it. No, Dave messages it to every other guy in the group, and you all start like harassing this girl via text message.
Oh God,
with semi-hilarious. I think she found it quite funny, but then like there's like 8 guys like finding it hilarious to text her.
I mean I prefer your I can't remember how you met her, but I remember when we lived in Nettlebed together. This was sort of back, October, September 2008, something like that.
07.
Yeah, because you were the chef of the house, right?
Was I?
Yeah.
Is that how you remember me?
You were an absolute culinary genius. Like this Tom was like an absolute pioneer of pasta and beans as a first date dish. Like 30p all in on a first date. Like Tesco value pasta and Tesco value beans. Like,
With cheese.
was there cheese as well?
Oh, yeah. You have to
All right,
put cheese on.
Fender. That was a first date meal, pasta and beans.
Yeah, but I remember you were absolutely berating me. I did then date that girl for 7 years, so I did something right. It's just a big fact. I once took that meal to, I used to work at the Henley Cinema, and I made pre-made like pasta, beans and cheese. And I got it out during the break to eat my lunch, and I was working with an Italian girl. And she was like fucking disgusted. She was like, you were spitting on my family. Like, she was absolutely disgusting.
Spitting on my family. Did she actually use those words?
No.
Okay.
But that effectively was just like, you are like pasta is like part of my
it's like,
country, my family, like it's part of us, and you just fucking destroyed it.
Italians will never not take offense if you do pasta badly.
they take their cuisine very seriously. I mean, like pasta, you serve that like fancy pesto, get some nice grated parmesan, bit of basil and vinegar on top of that. Like, you don't just chuck some beans on it. Like,
Unless you want to date a girl for a really long time.
yeah,
So-
you know what? Like, you must have been very charming otherwise. Like, 7 years, great work.
Must have done something well. But no, so with that other girl, I then set up a date, and then all you boys were like, "Oh, where are you going? Where are you going?" And I'd learned my lesson from that point. I was like, "I'm not bloody telling them where I'm going on a date in Henley. Of course, I'm not going to tell them." Anyway, I was like, I had about £3 in my bank account, so obviously we were going to Wetherspoons. so I took this girl to Wetherspoons, really nervous. Like, first date, I've only met her out in a club for like an hour or whatever, and I got a number, and we sit down at Wetherspoons. I swear I didn't even have, I had so little money. I think I had like a lime soda. Like, I had no money. Had a drink. It was still sort of nervousness, like trying to, get to know each other a bit. And then a waitress comes over to the table with a large plate and says, "This is for you," and puts the plate down in front of the two of us. And written in ketchup on this plate is, "I love you, will you marry me?" And I was just like, oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
I look
Funny at the time.
I instantly look up and like scan the room, and I just see like 5 guys with hoods up in the corner, just like pissing themselves. I should have known that they would find me. Presumably your thought pattern was like, it's Tom, he's skint as fuck, he'll definitely be in Wetherspoons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like that. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure that one out.
I don't know why I thought I'd be safe.
They're like, it was our first guest, so we're like tiptoeing around, like, because if I remember, you were sort of on that table next to the sort of the beer garden,
Like the booth, yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the family section, and we've sort of convinced one of the waitresses to actually get on board with this idea. So yeah, we've just got this empty plate, and we're wasting so many ketchup sachets trying to get this right. It was very, like, Greta Thunberg wouldn't be happy with us. But we so we spent ages just kind of going through these ketchup sachets, just writing letter by letter. It took us ages, but the waitress was fully on board, and she thought, this is really, really funny, and she goes and delivers it over to your table. First day ketchup proposal.
It was, to be fair, actually, it turned out to be quite a good marker of like how much banter a girl has, because she took it really well and thought it was funny. And then obviously it's like, oh, obviously it's the lads here, and she also thought it quite funny. I was like, oh, that's kind of a good icebreaker kind of thing, actually, because like now at least I know she can take a joke.
Yeah.
If she like threw her drink in my face and left, I'd be like, okay then.
Yeah, realistically, like if you can't see the funny side of something like that, this is probably not a friendship circle she should get involved.
Yeah, no, definitely not the rowing one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't last too long anyway. But fun times.
Yeah, we messed around a lot. Those few years at Leander, we were a raucous bunch, that's for sure. It's weird because I remember turning up at Leander. I didn't really know what to expect at the time. I had a sort of slightly dotted around career, a little bit at University of Hertfordshire, go home for the summer, go to my local club, which was Huntingdon Boat Club at the time. It wasn't a particularly serious club. Went to go train with St. Neots Rowing Club for a little while. They had a fairly good junior coach, but couldn't really train with a junior group for that long. So I thought I needed to go somewhere, and that's when I started to look at Leander. So I remember sort of being on my way to Leander, and I had no idea what to expect, but I just thought to myself, I'm going to get there, and that the people I'm going to train with, they're going to be gods. They're going to be so serious. Like everything's going to be about performance and rowing, and it's all going to be so serious and professional all the time. And I just remember our first night out, when I can't remember where we were. It might have been White Lotus or something like that.
Must have been, yeah.
But I'm walking towards the toilet, and a guy called Josh is coming out the other way, one of the other guys on the squad. And I'm idolizing these guys. These are the people who've been there before. I think they're like the most serious professional athletes I've ever met. And he just comes out and taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Mate, don't go in there. The bouncer was being a dick on the way in, so I've left bangers and mash in the toilet." And there's like sweet, innocent Dave, like semi-sweet and innocent, relatively. I'm thinking, bangers and mash? Like that's, I grew up on that as a childhood cartoon. What's bangers and mash, sir? Right, basically, you just put a load of bog roll in the toilet so it blocks it, and then you do a shit on the top. I'm thinking, these are meant to be like the most professional athletes in the country, and like, doing crap like that.
I remember I had the exact same thought process, and I went for a trial. Before I turned up in August, I went for a trial weekend, like at the start of the summer. And I remember I turned up, and met Caroline, and she was like, there's not many people around at the moment. I don't know if they've been on a camp or whatever. There's a couple boys upstairs. I'll go and introduce you to them. And I'll say their names. I won't say who it was. I can tell you after. I meet these two lads, and they're like not even on the computer in the crew room. They're on the computer in the main office, and they are laughing at Facebook photos from a night out. And I will say the story because it's a bit gross. But there was plenty of other times. There was like in the Bull where we used to go on a night out. They had those low beams. Do you remember the low wooden beams?
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, the bouncers wouldn't let anyone climb on it. So at the end of the night, like 6 of us would just jump up, attach ourselves to it, and just see how long it took the bouncers to drag us off it.
That reminds me of my first memory of joining Cambridge. Do you know what swaps are?
No, go on.
So one of the challenges they have there is obviously, because it's a very condensed season, you've got to get everybody to be, you've got to form a team quite quickly. So they do quite a few socials quite early on in the season to get everybody to know everybody else. And one of the things they like to do is a swap, where you just take all the men's rowing squad would team up with the women's squad from a different sport.
Yeah.
So I think we were going on a swap with the women's hockey team.
They call it a crew day, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I think we just called them swaps.
Okay.
Cambridge.
In alternate crew dates, yeah.
But one of the things they do is that one person from each team have to sort of be the sort of like the presidential couple, and they get to set all the rules for the evening. But at any point, you can team up with somebody from the other squad, and you can challenge for a presidency. And the existing president can set any challenge they like. If you complete that challenge, you two get to become the presidents. It's all good fun, right?
Yeah.
So you get some fairly wacky challenges. And one of the sort of common ones it's just called bare ass ceiling touch. So, rules are very simple. If you can get your bare ass cheek to touch the ceiling, you get to become the president. So we're in this, what was it called? It was Curry King, I think it was called. Curry King in Cambridge. It was just, you pay £10, you get like a 3-course curry. It was the most rancid thing.
This story cannot end well.
No, it doesn't end. No, it doesn't end badly at all. Like, it's just my first memory of being at Cambridge was a guy called Freddie Davidson. Was basically, he's quite a young guy at the time, like absolutely brilliant, successful rower now, like really, really respected.
I've heard of him. He's pretty good, isn't he?
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. But what he's also very good at is getting his ass to touch ceilings.
Oh yeah?
It would seem.
He's a pro.
That's my first memory.
Are you allowed to use someone else to help you?
You can have the other person you're challenging with to help you. So yeah, my first memory was Freddie trying to get his ass to touch the ceiling in this rancid curry restaurant. And I'm sat there eating this, like pigeon tikka or whatever the hell it was. And I'm just thinking, what the hell have I signed up for here? But like dicking around, if there's rafters, rowers are going to try and dick around on them for various reasons. That like transcends all rowing squads.
I remember, was that how you became president? Sorry.
That's how you become president of the swap. That's not how you become president of CBC. So that's how you become president of the swap, and then you and whoever you challenge with, you get to make the drinking rules for the rest of the evening until someone else challenges you.
Yeah, that's not an official way to become president.
CBC presidency is far more rigorous and formal.
I dread to think what you have to do to become a CUBC president.
That reminds me of what was the curry house called that we used to go to that had all you can eat on Sunday? Blue.
Oh, not Blue Mountain State. That's a TV show. Blue.
They had a couple of names, but I remember we basically got kicked out on a couple of occasions.
There's Himalaya Spice.
Yeah, they were like, "You're eating too much. You have to leave now."
When all you can eat buffet.
Yeah.
Because the Himalayan, as we called it, I think that's closed now. But they do all you can eat for £10 on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And the options, he'd just come out and he'd say, "Do you want spicy or girly?"
Oh yeah.
That was it. That's just what he'd say to us.
Yeah.
So, and he'd always go right up to the guy called Roger Ewing whenever we'd go over the Henley Road.
Roger.
Yeah, he'd just slap him on the shoulder and say, "How spicy you want today?" And Roger's like, "Oh, fucking hell." Roger just couldn't sort of bring it upon himself to say, "I want the girly curry."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, curries obviously exist on a bit more of a spectrum, but it was, they just wanted to just plaster us full of as much hot curry as they could that night.
Just to laugh at us.
Yeah.
I remember Roger. I don't know whether it was well earned or just because it rhymed, but Roger the Ergo Dodger was.
It wasn't well earned at all. Like, he was one of the best at
Oh, he had a savage erg, yeah.
Yeah, like drawing up to his forehead every finish.
Do you remember he came and lived in our apartment?
No. I remember when he wanted to stay with us for like 2 or 3 nights in the living room and ended up living there for like over like 2 months or something like that.
Probably longer. He was living in the living room on an old mattress. On like half an old mattress.
Yeah.
I remember he had his girlfriend stay over a couple of times, and occasionally in the
Victoria.
I can't remember.
Anyway.
But yeah, occasionally I'd have like forgotten my hoodie or something in the morning. So you kind of try and sneak into the living room to put your hood up because you're on the training. And it's just Roger and his girlfriend fully naked, like lying like spread out on the mattress, and you're just trying to be like, "Oh my god!" But also he didn't even have a key for the place. So I remember on a Sunday I came back, like everyone had gone away from the weekend, and I came back at like 9 p.m. Like parked my bus up, like with the lights on. There's like a car in front of me, and then I just see in front of me, I just see like a head pop up in the car in front of me. I was like, "That's a bit weird." And I get out of the van, and then Roger gets out of that car, and he's like, I'm happy someone came home. He was like, I couldn't get in. I was like, well, what were you going to do? He's like, I'd bedded down for the night in the car. But that was a 3-bed flat that 5 of us lived in.
Yeah.
Talking about sacrifices too.
Because what was it? You had, was it me, you, Webby, and Tom Cannon? Tom Cannon had joined us, had joined Leander at the start of the season, and then as a aspiring lightweight, weighed in at I think 81 kilos for the first 2K test, and got promptly ended his Leander career.
But wasn't that like 2 days after he signed a 6-month contract?
Yeah. we just signed this contract in our old place on Watlington Street. So it was a 3-bedroom place, and we had the living room, but you had that sort of big bedroom in the middle that became Webby and Cannon's, and they just put like They just, instead of having separate rooms, they just put some cupboards.
They had a big wardrobe in the middle.
Yeah.
There was 2 doors, so it was originally 2 rooms, but the middle wall had been taken out. So they did originally have a door each, and they put the cupboard in the middle. But then Webby's room just piled. He had like so much dirty washing and stuff piled up in front of his door that they ended up just using the same door anyway. That house was pretty filthy.
That whole period was just fantastic. I remember that whole campaign was so much fun. You sort of mentioned the computer that we had in the crew room.
Oh, yeah.
It was weird because this was before smartphones really took off. We couldn't use Facebook on our phones, so we did so much kind of goofing around on that computer. I remember. You remember when you snuck off on the last weekend before our Henley campaign? You sort of went back home to Worcester to go do a triathlon on your day off. And then, you got ill off the back of that, if I remember rightly?
No, so it was Marlow. So Marlow was on the Saturday. So we'd done Marlow Regatta on the Saturday, and then we had Sunday off. And so that's when does Marlow? It's about 10 days before Henley starts.
Something like that, yeah.
So then I'd gone home that Sunday, and my school used to do this charity triathlon thing. So I did this thing. I'll explain later what it is. So I did it, and one of the other guys took photos, and then you boys found this hilarious and like stitched these 3 photos together on the computer.
not us boys. Charles Pitchfork.
Well, probably someone who hadn't made the Thames Cup 8, who was pissed.
Yeah. The guy who was subbing in for you while you were out ill, because we moved back to the Henley stretch. We were doing some pieces of Durham.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
and Pitchfork was subbing in for you. And
yeah.
When you made that little montage.
Yeah, so I did get. So I wasn't super ill, but yeah. So to continue the story, yeah. So he's made that montage, and people find out, and then someone tells Brian. So then Brian calls. I think that meeting. Like, I wasn't feeling super well. I'd said something to Brian, and then Brian was like, right, called me up for a meeting, was like, right, what are you doing? Like, doing triathlon? It's like, this is a joke. And I was like, and now I had to explain to him, I was like, right, like, all you've seen is 3 photos. So the reality of this triathlon is it's a 250 meter swim in a small lake that you can wade. So it's a 250 meter wade. You don't even really swim. It then was like a 7-mile bike ride, and then like a, I don't know, 15-minute run or something. Like, it was a proper charity thing. Like, it was really small. And I was pretty like scared at the time, because I thought, obviously Brian thinks I'm not taking this seriously, whatever. It was pretty chill. I did it very chill with my mate. I just wanted to turn up and like support the school, whatever. But then I think the thing that got me out of it, because Brian was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, listen, look, I might have gone and done some exercise, but you don't know that all the other boys went and got absolutely fucked up on Saturday night after Malo. And that kind of stopped Brian in his tracks a little bit, because then he was like, oh, okay, well, yeah. But then it's like, right, you've told me you're a bit ill, so go home. He sent me home. I literally left Leander, like, called my mum and dad crying. I was like, I've been kicked out. Thames Cup. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not getting back in.
Yeah.
Because he was pissed about, I don't think he was ever going to kick me out. Just the way it worked, whatever. I had a couple of days off and then came back, yeah.
You're right. We did go out on the piss pretty hard about 10 days out from Henley starting, which in hindsight was probably pretty stupid.
But we were all idiots. So was doing a triathlon.
The thing is, like, at the time I was 21, you were like 14
19.
or something. so like, your kidneys are just indestructible at that age. Like, it didn't matter how hard we went, we were always just fresh as daisies within 36 hours.
Yeah.
So,
it's different then.
It was like the unwritten rule of Henley back then was just that all the rowing clubs would always go out on the Saturday night. Upper Thames, Henley and Leander would all just go on the sesh every Saturday night, and every Saturday night was wild in town. Seems to have gotten a little bit quiet ever since then, but...
Well, we spoke to Ben Lewis, who was sort of said that period, like 07, 08, was sort of like the beginning of the, like, GB had got very professional when, like, Caversham turned up in 03, and then that's kind of fed down to the professional era of club rowing kind of came in after that. Yeah. So that was kind of one of the last couple of years where you could just train fucking hard, but then go out and get pissed on the Saturday as well.
I do kind of miss it, because I thought it was just a very good way to become friends. So you go out and you have you let your hair down, you blow off some steam, you forge some silly memories with your friends. And I know last time I came on, we spoke about this a little bit, but you can get all these results and you can go super fast, you can pull big ergs, you can win some medals. But when you're retired, it sort of dawns on you a little bit that the friendships that you forged and silly memories that you made of each other, that stays with you just as much.
Yeah, they're the fun bits that last. And every time every Henley regatta, you bump into the same people, you tell the same stories. They're just as hilarious.
Yeah.
They just get a little bit better each year. The details just get a bit more exaggerated.
So the older I get, the better I was.
I've heard so many over-exaggerated stories about my own stupid antics from that era. So when they come back to haunt me. But
I mean, I just remember being at Home Countries 2016. We were out in Cardiff, and then it was with the England team, and then we went to get dinner the night before the race or something. And that's like one of the first times that I've met you, and one of my first memories of you.
Do you know who he was before?
No, okay. no. But you were there wasn't a double with Seb Deborah, shout out. And then I just remember you guys like going to get some food because we all needed to get dinner the night before the racing, and I just remember you asking the woman who was serving the food if they have any raw vegan options. And I was like, well, at that point, I've never heard of a raw vegan diet. So I was like, what's a raw vegan diet, Dave? And you were like, well, these swans won't feed themselves.
Yeah, I was full of awkward chat-up lines throughout my 20s. It's weird because, since turning 30, I've completely forgotten how to speak to girls. But back then, I was actually, semi-witty and charming at the same time. So.
Do you still have I remember you like eloquently explaining the Magic 7
Magic 7.
with how you apply aftershave. You were giving me and Webby, you were like, listen, boys, this is how you do it. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are you sure this was me and not Duffy?
No, this is you.
This is me?
Definitely you. Because it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down there. And then you were like, but the secret bit is like one spray here.
Oh,
because
on the McDonald's logo.
Yeah, because being tall, and when you're out in a nightclub, it's really loud. You always lean down in to speak to a girl, and then she's going to smell it. And I was like,
that makes sense.
Pretty good.
That's genius.
But I'm not tall. So it doesn't really work. This is going to work for you.
Maybe that's why you're explaining it to me. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But
Oh no, that is absolutely genius. I have used that since. I must say.
the Magic 7.
Yeah, and it does work.
There you go.
Yeah. Did you pair it up with pasta and beans?
I'm yet to get to that stage.
Just, give the girls a chance.
I mean, I made pasta, beans, and cheese for myself maybe last week one time. Yeah. It's still,
Were you trying to take yourself out?
still a solid meal. It's it's comfort food.
Comfort, yeah.
Yeah. Many happy memories.
I wasn't the man. I remember we would do like a food run. I'd take Webby in the old camper van, and maybe you as well sometimes, because obviously we live miles away. So we'd go and do like a food run, and I think the best I did was 60 cans of Tesco Valley food for £13, and I was like super proud of that.
I remember in that camper van, we used to play a game on the drive to Henley. So, because we were living in Nettlebed at the time, so you've kind of got this very long straight road, and then there's like this top of the hill around about Bix.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of down this another long hill, and then you've got the Fair Mile. We used to play this game on the drive down to Leander each morning, where we'd see how we just put it in neutral and see how far we'd coast.
Yeah.
So we had this VW camper van, and we'd be ragging it at 100 mile an hour plus, or whatever that thing's top speed was going up this.
You mean 60 plus?
Sorry, we just max out at whatever the national speed limit is on that road.
Yes.
And then we just, as soon as we hit the crest of the hill, we just slap it in neutral, reset the counter, and everybody would just sit there, and Tom's just like steering it, engine off, everything's absolutely fine. I think we got like 2.3 miles.
Not in that one, in Webby. So we set a few in the van, and then Webby was like, right, I'm going to beat this. Because he say like, I can only get the van to 70 at the top of the hill when he's starting. Whereas Webby in his car is then like foot to the floor, just hit the top of the hill, bang it in neutral. And yeah, I think we got to like the speed camera down the end of the Fair Mile.
Oh yeah, that's one time you and I.
We were within the speed limit again.
Yeah, within the speed limit.
But you also forced me to do 0 to 60 a few times in the van.
Did the van hit 60?
We did.
Took about 3 weeks.
I was super proud. Like we did. I remember the one we did. I was like, "Yeah, guys, but I've got you two in the van as well, And I was trying to make excuses. And you're like, "Shut up and just
we're in the
do
front
it.
seat, like doing it downhill. Like
Let's
center of gravity.
do it." And we did. We did 0 to 60 and recorded 28 seconds. And I googled slowest 0 to 60 time of production car. And it was like a Ford Galaxy people carrier that came off the production line with a 0 to 60 of 32 seconds. So I was like, not the slowest. Yes. I've still got that van. It's parked out there.
Yeah. You sleep in it sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, go camping in it. My mate's field. It's much better than a campsite. He owns a field where you can make as much noise as you want and no one can hear you. Beautiful. Massive fires and a couple of beers. And do you remember there's another time when we came to work one morning and we saw the car in the ditch? That car that had like come off the side of the road and buried itself in the ditch. You don't remember that?
Came back from work?
No, we were going in the morning to rowing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we came down the Fair
It was
Mile.
full rowing work.
Sorry, yeah. Work. We never worked together. We rowed together.
Oh, we did a bit.
And there was that
Henley
car.
Coffee Exchange.
Yes. That's a good story.
So back, it was back in sort of 07, 08 when we were doing our Thames Cup campaign. Tittlemouse was working at the Henley Cinema.
I don't think we've explained that nickname yet either.
That's a nickname story for another time. But and I was working at Starbucks, store coffee master, Frappuccino expert that I was, and I'd finish work at 6. They'd finish. Tom and Webby would finish work at about 8. So if I'm getting a lift home, I've just got 2 hours to kill. So I just go work at the cinema for a little bit. I just go. If they had a coffee machine there, I just go help out, make some coffees, start helping myself to all the popcorn. It's just how we did it. So technically we did work together.
We just briefly showed you how to, because back then we used to still seat people. So you wait at the door, take someone's ticket, and then go and show them to their seats. So we just it wasn't hard, just showed Dave how to do that. And then we'd have an extra pair of hands. He'd just sit on screen 3 and seat it, but in a Starbucks top. And like some customers would notice this and be like, oh, like, why have you got a Starbucks top on? And Dave has explained.
Yeah, I just called it the Henley Coffee Exchange, where you sort of, Starbucks would send their baristas around town to train up lesser experienced baristas. And nobody ever questioned it. So
when the excuse is too good, no one's even going to bother. Like, be like, what's up?
yeah, as long as they get a nice coffee, they're happy.
Yeah. Cinema was, me and Webby both worked there for about 3 years. And I got promoted to manager after 2 weeks. And Webby never got a promotion in 3 years.
This was, I remember when we all first started working there. I remember your manager at the time was lady, sort of late 50s, maybe early 60s, something like that. A little bit on the flirty side.
Yeah.
If I recall.
She was keen on the rowers, yeah.
Yeah. And because we were all staying in the dorm at the time, we thought it'd be really funny to get your phone when you'd left it unattended and swap her number round with Webby's number.
I do remember this. I had forgotten this, and I now,
Yeah. So we've got Webby texting Tom, pretending to be his new boss, be like, you were looking really good in those trousers today. Obviously, I have to keep my flirt. I have to be very professional in the workplace, so I can't send you messages. I can't talk to you like this in person, but you look great. Like really, really flirty messages. And all the time, it was just Webby just winding him up. And we sat there in the dorm in the evenings. They're like, because we used to go to bed at like 6:30 when we were all staying in the dorm together. And we'd all just be chatting rubbish. And Webby would just kind of go quiet for a few minutes. And then Tom would sort of pipe up and be like, guys, I've just got another weird message from my boss. And we're all in on it at this point. We're all just biting our tongue, just enjoying the stitch up. And I think what broke the whole gag at one point was you kind of reached the end of your tether and thought, right, fuck, I've just got a ringer. And Webby's phone starts going off. And the penny just dropped.
For the record, she was actually lovely and very supportive of the rowers and stuff, which was funny. But I do remember that now. I'm just getting feeling more and more awkward. Like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, I'm way too young to be able to bring this up with her. I don't even know how to respond to this.
Yeah, you're like this 19-year-old who's trying to make a good impression at your new job. You've just been promoted to cinema manager or whatever it was.
That sounds a lot more impressive.
I bet you started thinking that the promotion was probably because of that reason as well.
And maybe Webby was just sort of getting back at him because he never got that promotion. Instead, he had to wear his Michael Jackson bloods when he was on shift.
He got really, really bad blistered hands from camp. He came back from the hands and his hands were so bad. And obviously, you're serving drinks at the bar.
Yeah.
So the assistant manager, the manager, she said that it was too rough. There's no way you're going to have to wear some gloves. And then comes out with literally Mickey Mouse white velvet, like someone who's doing an auction at Bonham or whatever. And he used to have to wear these, and it looked way more weird. It made him stand out so much more.
Yeah. He may as well have just started moonwalking and down around the counter going every time he served someone.
He got his own back though in a few ways, and that's the one way. Every time he finished on shift, when he turned the sound system off, would then put the volume on maximum. Because the manager would then, every morning the manager would sort of come in, turn the lights on, turn the coffee machine on, turn that on, flick the button on, go and walk off to the other end of the bar, and then just and to the point we had a full team meeting, and she was like, to the person who does that, if I catch you, I'm going to fire you. Because you scared the shit out of me every morning for the last 3 weeks.
There's some real perks of that job, though. I remember,
Free
obviously,
popcorn.
Yeah, the free popcorn. So, because me, Tom Webby, and Tom Cannon were all living together at the time, and with Rog on the sofa, they'd finish a shift, and obviously you've got to throw out all the popcorn at the end of it. So Tom would just, not wanting to, let anything go to waste, maybe saving it for a first date in the future, would just fill these bin bags up with loads of, literally entire bin bags full of popcorn, and we'd just dump them in the living room, and we'd all just slap on. I think we were quite big on watching 24 I think that was our go-to.
Webby was obsessed with 24. Yeah.
But he loved 24.
Yeah.
Like, it was just such a binge-worthy show.
Yeah, it was.
So we'd get our Sundays off and we'd just watch, like, maybe not an entire season of 24. We're not going to go midnight to midnight. But we'd just watch crappy DVDs all day and just shovel down entire bin bags.
Yeah, literally eating popcorn out of a bin bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's it. Like, you can talk about, like, the sacrifices of like working hard and all the rest of it, but also it is like sharing a 3-bedroom house with 5 mates and just making the best of it, having to buy everything Tesco value food, having some crappy part-time job that fits around your rowing schedule. Like, these are the other things that you have to kind of put in, but that's also the fun of it, isn't it? Like, just those early years, just like there was no expectation. It was just like, let's have a go. Let's have a laugh and see what happens.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought that as you get older in rowing, the opportunity cost of doing it starts to get bigger. So you feel like you have to justify better and better results to want to keep going. I know that's maybe not applicable to everybody, but certainly on the sort of pointy performance end of the spectrum, if you're going to keep going into your late 20s, early 30s, you want to be aiming for some, you want to get some big stuff.
Because you start having to sacrifice more. Like, as a 19-year-old, you're not missing any of your mates' weddings.
Yeah.
You don't have any money for a holiday anyway.
Yeah, like if you're 18, 19, 20, you're not exactly putting your career on hold to go train full-time for a couple of years. Yeah. If you're, training 2-3 times a day when you're 31, for example, you have put career and family plans on hold. Probably it's very hard to do both together. But yeah, those early years, you're right, there's so little opportunity cost. It doesn't matter if you earn £7 an hour working at the cinema and live off scraps all year. You can just have a bloody good time.
I worked, so obviously it's back, but I remember I was paid £5.80 an hour.
£6.14 at Starbucks.
I got an extra I got $5.80 to just be like a worker bee, and then when they made me a manager and gave me a set of keys and the alarms, and I opened up to close, managed a cinema with 9 to 12 staff, 3 cinemas, maybe 300 or 400 people at a time, 3 shows, close up, alarms, cash up, everything. I went from $5.80 to $6.80, but I was allowed to wear a shirt. I didn't have to wear a cinema polo. Made it. Yeah, $5.80, and then with the hours that you can do around your training, that's probably making 150 quid a week. So you're making £600 a month. Rent is 300.
Yeah,
and then food, and that's it.
Yeah.
What else have you got?
Yeah. Like, you've got like 20 quid a month as like your budget for dating. Like, but you make it work. You crack out your lime soda.
Lime soda.
Yeah. It works. Like,
you go home and you make pasta, beans, and cheese.
Ketchup getting delivered to you.
Oh, I used to. Yeah, we would nick the ketchups, and like I'd take sugar from Starbucks. Didn't buy sugar. We'd just go in Starbucks when no one's around and just take.
One time I was working at Starbucks, and there's this family that would come in and they just bring their bowls. You know how you have sort of the milk in the jugs, so you can top up your Americanos. They just turn up with bowls and cereal and spoons, and they just start helping themselves all through, like literally in the middle of Starbucks in the morning. I didn't normally have to deal with it because I would work in the afternoons, but one morning shift I did. They're there just doing this, and I thought, it's not my money going to waste. Do what you want. But
I remember for another thing from Starbucks was like you working there was you constantly trying to figure out what the most calorific drink was. So like one day you come back like, right, guys, I've got it. You start with the large white chocolate, hot chocolate, but then you go with the double pump of the syrup, and you get this, and this, and you can slam about 3,500 calories.
It was so because they have some weird rules about how many calories drinks are allowed to have now. There was I think the most calorific drink they actually had on the menu was a venti caramel signature hot chocolate with whipped cream. It was like 860 calories.
Yeah,
like whatever. But there are certain drinks that you have now where they're not allowed to serve them above a medium because they become too many calories. I think there's some sort of cap. I don't know what the cap is. But I've been to places where I'll say, is it possible to get a large one of these frappuccinos, for example? And they'll say, no, that's too many calories. You can't have that. Could I get 2 mediums then? Yes, of course. That's the point. Yeah. But anyway, so I made this drink. I called it the white chocolate and caramel cream frappuccino. So it's the white chocolate base. They use for white chocolate mochas, vanilla syrup, and I'd have this like caramel swirl that I just very artistically do like this little caramel helix, I guess I should call it strictly. It's something like 1,100 calories, but the rowers loved it. It's like the sweetest thing in the world. So people would come in, and it became a very popular drink because people would see it around town, and other people would start making it as a custom order. So I went to we had the area manager, and I said, look, we've got this really popular drink that we've made. Can we start serving this? Hoping that I could like launch the next Starbucks drink and make my millions. And she said, no, sorry, because it's 1,100 calories. We can't serve something with that many calories. So yeah, it's a real shame. But
when you're like, you're 19, you're training 4 to 6 hours a day, your metabolism is already absolutely firing.
Yeah.
Like that's the point in your life when you're training that much, you can just eat whatever you want, like at all times.
I remember coming back from training, I'd literally get like a 5-pack of donuts, custard donuts from Sainsbury's, and whipped cream. Just walk to college for my like A levels, and guys from my crew would be like,
deep throating the whipped cream.
yeah, literally. And the guys from my crew would be like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, living life, leave me to it.
I used to get sometimes when I had any money at all, would walk down to the fish and chip shop and get myself a large chips and 2 battered sausages, but then I'd get the 3-piece fried chicken to eat on the way home. So I'd eat chicken on the way home and then get home and have my dinner.
That was one of the big things about stopping rowing, was that you've got to realize that you should probably eat less.
I physically couldn't. For me, I've been quite lucky in the way that it was like the training that like you would eat till you're full, go and do a mad session and then feel empty again. Whereas like if I ate till I full and then didn't do anything, I could, like the volumes it's not possible.
I've realized like if you're training and you're eating like say 5,000-6,000 calories a day, you halve that. So you're hungry all the time, but you're still eating enough calories to be gaining weight. So it's like, shit, I'm hungry and I'm getting fat. Like how do I deal with this?
Yeah.
I sort of thought of like, so if I did it sort of to a high professional standard, say for like 10 years, full-time athlete trying to, get to the top. If you say that you average, obviously not all the time, but you could easily do 6,000 calories a day on like any solid training day. So if the average for a human is 2,000 a day, right? So in my 10-year career, I've eaten 30 years worth of food. And then you think like that's probably why like there's no food that I'm like, I couldn't live without it, or I could never miss that. It's like food. It's like completed it, mate. Like,
we used to get by so cheaply back when we were all doing those little odd jobs around Henley. So you were at the cinema, so we'd always get, our free tickets, free popcorn, help yourself some pick and mix, whatever. I was working
unofficially.
It's okay. We'll edit that out, right? I was working at Starbucks, and of course, our manager was just awful with her sort of, managing her orders. So there'd be so much wastage at the end of each day. So what was I on? £6.14 an hour. So I'd come away, do a 6-hour shift, get about like 37 quid as my daily take home. But I'd get given about 50, 60 quid's worth of like paninis and stuff.
Did they give it to you? Because I remember when they started saying they weren't allowed to give you the food they were going to throw away.
Yeah, the legend has it that in America they gave some paninis away to a homeless person, and then they got ill having eaten it. I don't know whether it was related or not, but apparently the person sued Starbucks successfully off the back of that. So Starbucks then adopted a policy of being very strict about throwing their wastage away. I might be wrong, but that's the legend as it was told around our store. But our manager didn't really care.
But I definitely remember times when
we weren't going to sue.
I feel like I remember times when it was like a lot of stuff had got binned, when, like you said, you would finish at 7:30, then come to cinema and wait for us, and then at 9:30 when we finish, then we drive round to Starbucks, and you've put the rubbish out, but like all of the stuff you want to keep is in one bag.
Yeah, I did do that. Yeah, when obviously you've got like bags and bags full of rubbish, and I'd have like all that wastage I'd put in one specific bin bag that I'd put like the far right of like the trash pile outside, and do a little sneaky run and take that one, and then
same thing. Do you remember? Do you remember when the cinema had like an Alpro soya promotion?
Oh, what?
Like Alpro soya, like yogurts and soy milk.
No,
do you not remember that one? And then so we had like loads. Our fridge in 2A Watling for like 3 weeks was just wall to wall Alpro soya yogurts and drinks, and that's what we lived off. It's supposed to have it's supposed to up your estrogen, isn't it? Too much soy.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
We probably all getting a bit emotional that week.
We did cry a lot that year.
There you go. That's why.
Yeah, and living off the Leander food. That's all quite different now. Speaking to Leander athletes,
Really?
Yeah, you don't have a Leander card. You use your debit card to pay. And there's too many athletes for individual breakfast orders, so it's just a big vat of porridge and some eggs and stuff, and you just kind of have to take what you can get.
It was so cheap when we were there as well. 1p, literally 1p for a bowl of porridge.
Yeah. I remember Charles Pitford used to just buy 2 bowls of porridge for breakfast. Charles Pitchfork.
there we go.
Shout out.
Great guy. He'd have 2 bowls of porridge.
Yeah.
I remember Owen would get, he'd always put a custom order in for 10 poached eggs, but he wanted the yolks removed. So he'd just have this plate of just churned up egg whites.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was his breakfast every day. Jeez.
That's a man we could talk about for a while.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know if I told you the story that he told me. See, this is another story that I'm sure over the years I've massively embellished, but I feel like it was the story he told me.
Yeah.
Was he said when he first came down to he's proper from the valleys in Wales, West Wales. His dad, no one in his family. Again, not me embellishing it. No one in his family has barely even been to England. He's visited London once. Proper Welsh family. And this is a big deal. He's moving down to Henley. He's leaving home. He's 18. He's going to go and do this rowing thing. So he drives down there with his dad, and they park up in the under car park, and they go in, see where he's going to stay in his dorm and everything. They go into. His dad's telling him, make sure you don't make sure you wash your clothes and don't forget to do this and stuff. And they go and have lunch in Henley, and they come back, and it's right, it's time for his dad to go. So he stands outside the front of Leander. His dad goes and walks in the car, and gets in the car and sort of drives out, pulls around to see Owen and puts his window down. And Owen said, I was thinking, this is last bit of advice from my dad, before, as an 18-year-old man, before I go out and start my life. And he says, he winds the window down and he goes, remember, Owen, never trust a man wearing jewellery, and then just drives off. That was his final snippet of advice.
Yeah, I'm just scanning for jewellery as we speak. I feel your wedding ring's probably permissible.
Yeah, I think I'm allowed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a patron of travellers on.
Oh, I've got my earpiece now as well. That's a bit dodge.
Yeah, it's weird.
I couldn't see it behind the beard.
Yeah, I know.
Mate, I barely...
Both of your beards are looking great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I barely ever see that earring. And we drive, normally Tom drives when we go to row jobs. And I should be able to see that earring, but I just forget about it for months at a time.
It's hidden because the beard protrudes quite a bit.
I went out in Thailand in January with my missus, and she got a tattoo done at this place. And I was just sat there for a few hours fuck it. Yeah, I'm going to take it off. It'll be a laugh.
Pierce my own ear.
Well, now I've got something to do it. But yeah, it was way less painful than I thought it would be. Way less painful than a tattoo. Tattoos are horrible.
Do you guys ever get sponsored when you were rowing?
Oh, this takes me back. So anyone who's ever been to any corner shop will be familiar with Nourishment. You know Nourishment, right?
I think I do, but for those listeners from outside of the UK, what is it?
So Nourishment is it markets itself as a high protein recovery drink. It comes in these cylindrical cans. You get them at pretty much any corner shop around the country.
Yeah, but it's like a can that you get peas in. It's not like a drinks can.
No,
it comes in like a
little old school ring pull. You've got to rip the whole thing off.
Yeah.
It was. I was sponsored by them.
It does have a high protein content. It always has an insanely high sugar content at the same time.
Yeah, it was something like 20 grams of protein and about 55 grams of sugar. I feel like we can't really criticize the sugar, given we're here just boshing these pineapple flavored red.
No, again, at the time, if you're doing that volume, that's what you need.
Yeah, as a recovery snack for rowers, it was probably great. Between sessions, it was actually a really good recovery drink. You got loads of sugar for your next session, which you're going to need. You've got your 20 grams of protein. This is not an ad, by the way.
But Nourishment, if you're listening, we will.
If you want to send me some free crates, my address is. So yeah, I used to swear by these drinks, and I wrote to them one time and said, would you be interested in sponsoring me, perhaps? And yeah, they did. And they sent me crate after crate of the stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was sponsored by them for a few years. It was brilliant. Not only did they have nourishment, they actually developed a one called Nourishment Active on the back of it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think they developed it specifically for me, but they had like a healthy... they had a healthy version of nourishment that was meant to be more complex carbs, for example. And
so even more sugar.
So what
more sort of complex carbs. It was better for sort of endurance.
slow release. So what was the deal? What did they send you?
So I would provide them with some quotes from their website, and pretty much that was it, really. And in return, I just get crates and crates of the stuff. I didn't get any money or anything like that, but crates and crates of stuff.
How often are they sending it to you?
Once a month. Yeah. So basically, I had enough for like 2 cans of nourishment per day, every day, and I couldn't get through it fast enough. So I was dishing it out quite a lot to all my friends, but I got nourishment clothing as well. I did campaign for them to make a bacon flavored milkshake, which they did not. They rejected that.
They definitely should have made like some all-in-ones for you with like some nourishment. They could have got more. Could have got some more athletes involved.
Maybe. I'm sure there would have been plenty of athletes.
I feel like if they're going to send you a crate of nourishment every month, it also needs to come with a crate of Rennies for all the heartburn you're going to have from all that sugar.
I got quite a funny story for trying to get sponsorship. So we
I don't really know what you're going to say.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
You remember this one?
You told me this like 12 years ago and it just made me laugh. But you go for it. You go for it.
Yeah, for everyone else. It was always like the thing you wanted to get sponsored. At the time, like the squad athletes had Lucozade, they had like an unlimited supply of all these Lucozade drinks and stuff. So we always wanted to do it. And I did, the first time I ever represented GB, we just did like a match fixture. We didn't even like wear GB kit, I don't think, but it was like a GB under 23 Development 8 match fixture against Goldie. We did some races, but I was like, right, I've officially like rode for GB now. So I'm gonna email. So I just like basically found every single company I knew. So like Maximuscle, Reflex, any supplement company I could find at the time. And I did this preset email and like was just like, hi, like I use Maximuscle and I love Maximuscle and it's the best thing for me. And I'm a GB athlete now. I'm on the pathway. I'm probably going to go to under 23 World Championships. And I sent it out to a few ones. And then on the Reflex one, I accidentally didn't change the product. So I sent an email to Reflex saying, hi everyone at Reflex, I absolutely love Maximuscle and I'd really love to get sponsored by Maximuscle. Can you sponsor me to have Maximuscle? And she emailed me back, and like this woman emailed me back and had CC'd like a bunch of other people in the company and being like, look what dickhead this is. And then like email me like, you probably need to check check your emails a bit closer before you send them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, I felt really annoyed. Because at the time, that was what I wanted.
Because at that stage, proofreading should be a reflex.
Why do you think I became a professional athlete?
Sorry, that's the best I could muster.
Why do you think I became a professional athlete? Like, absolutely useless at reading and writing and anything else. Maximuscle got back to me and like claimed that they had like this sponsorship deal. But like, I don't know if you remember at the time, that was a company where you could always get like a 30% off like code from somewhere.
Yeah, it's like Domino's.
So yeah, exactly. And their offer was like 30% off. And I was like, well, that's not actually helpful at all. And then there was another company called LA Fitness. Do you remember LA Fitness?
No.
So they came back to me and they were like, yes, we're so keen. We're absolutely trying to branch out into other sports at the moment. We'd be really keen to get you on board. We'll get you down to London to film like a promo video for yourself, which we'll put on our website. Mm-hmm. You'll get like 80% off all our products. We want you on board. I was like, wow, amazing. I'm going to get a sponsor. This is absolutely amazing. So then I was like, well, I'll go on their website now and see what products they have. And then I go for a few products and then I find these products on their website and it's like first line, big red letters, like, if you are in an Olympic committee sport, you will not pass a drugs test if you take this.
What a marketing strategy.
But then I was like, there's no way. Yeah. Like if anyone at GB finds out that I'm taking, even if I didn't take those supplements, even with cross-contamination, like this stuff's being made in the same factory, I was like, gutted. I was like, oh, the one company that's actually keen. Yeah. But
sucks.
We did later, when I was in the team, we ended up getting sponsored by Science in Sport. We used to get, it's like £500 every 3 months, £500 order.
Bloody hell.
Oh yeah, you couldn't even use it fast enough.
Yeah, I remember sort of being down at Molesey, and you'd get the likes of like Mo Sabini and James Foden would come down, and they've got too much SIS just built up, and they just dump just huge piles of the stuff in the gym, and then all of a sudden everyone would just swarm like vultures to get some free SIS. But we were on everything back then. We were on some bizarre supplements. Should I even say this one? Probably not.
Everything under the sun there. Everything legal.
So,
Well, beta-alanine, because that's fine. Lots of people take that now.
yeah, I think beta-alanine is meant to be a lactate buffer to the best of my knowledge. I briefly got on, so Maxi Muscle had this product called colostrum
Oh yeah.
for a while, and apparently, I think the science behind it, I might be wrong on this, but from my research, the fastest growing mammal in infancy is baby cows, like in terms of like putting on lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
So human growth hormones like obviously banned, but Maxi Muscle had made this product that was sort of based around cow growth hormone instead, and they just called it colostrum. It was like bovine colostrum, something like that. And they'd made this product, and I thought, I'm getting on that, and I got huge so quickly. It very quickly got banned.
Is it banned now, colostrum? Yeah,
I think it's like certain, no expert on sports nutrition, but I think quite a few sort of bodybuilders still use it. But in terms of like, it wouldn't pass a drugs test.
Oh yeah.
Now, so
I mean, that was a total. Yeah, like you said, like we would try every supplement we could, but like having like a false, or like having a positive without having actually intentionally taken anything was like a big worry.
Yeah.
So it was always from a company like Science in Sport or Maxi Muscle.
And
we used to get told someone that's batch tested only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. At the time, I remember absolutely swearing by supplements. I always would kind of think to myself, like, you'd hear of some new supplement like creatine or beta-alanine, and you think to yourself, this is the supplement that like, this is going to be the magic bullet that just propels me to be 15 seconds quicker in a single skull, or I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull a 552 erg, for example. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, you just focus on consistency and proper recovery. Make sure you're always kind of pushing that progressive overload. Like, make your training count first. You don't need to be boshing every supplement under the sun.
To be fair, Leander as well, we were so well fed and looked after in the club. Like, if you're eating fantastic food, you're going to be 95% of the way there.
So there'll be no need to dry scoop supplements years before everyone else started doing
Pre-workout didn't exist back in like 08, 09, and that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
They would just Satch and Al Sinclair would dry scoop beta-alanine and then spend the entire weight session itching their face. Yeah, that was the original.
What was the one we all got on beetroot juice?
Oh, we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
Like, the company was Beat It, this one. And
It tasted like liquid dirt.
yeah, we had these, so you had these like 1 litre jugs of beetroot juice. And
Yeah.
we couldn't get it all down us, so luckily they released shots instead. So just a shot of concentrated beetroot juice. And we just bosh these down. And it turns your piss purple.
Oh, nice.
So whenever we'd sort of, we'd be doing like a 2K erg test on a Saturday, for example, we're all boshing our beta-alanine, and then we're in Spoons that evening, and there's this, these massive guys, all of urinals just pissing like purple streams out, and all the locals are thinking like, bloody hell's wrong with this lot? So, it was a bizarre time.
It was most if you'd had a lot and it was dark purple, you remembered instantly. But if you'd had just a shot or a swig and then forgotten you'd done it, an hour later you'll go and have a wee and it's like red. It's more of like a red colour. And there was a couple of times I absolutely scared the crap out of myself.
What the fuck? Yeah, I'm dying. Like the first time you do it as well, you're like, because you don't know it's going to turn your piss purple.
Yeah.
Why do we do it to ourselves?
I remember.
We found out it was a lactate buffer, and that was it.
That's to hell with like super serious, making sure our training's as effective as possible. Like let's just bosh a load of nitrous oxide in concentrated beetroot.
Well, that's the thing. I remember like a story of someone. I think another one of your Cambridge Blue fellow members. Probably not from the same year, but he just heard that obviously beetroot juice was the lactate buffer, and like he really wanted to use it to enhance his 2K performance that time, and then just ended up chugging it all out. It was a horribly gone wrong idea.
Or like all over the gym, like.
I think potentially in the bucket, but it was not pretty and it didn't work.
Purple vomit. No, that's not going to be nice. I was never really one for throwing up. It's like depends on the people. And some people like after every tough erg, like Webber used to throw up quite a lot. There's a few people who used to throw up more. It never used to get my stomach as much.
I wasn't a puker.
Unless I ate wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you ate wrong, there were occasional times where you were just like, But I remember like one of the first times I came down to Leander and I started doing the senior training program on it in the pre-season, and then I finished like a really hard bike and I just ended up lying on a stretching mat for like 10 minutes, just properly almost passed out. I just remember Jonathan Jackson, who's now coaches at Leander. He came up to me. He was like, "Are you all right? What's wrong with you?" Like. It's crazy. Different things happen to different people after like you go into total exhaustion. Like Tom is notorious for flying off.
What do you mean notorious? Why is that? Like because it happened twice,
basically.
Wait, notorious for what?
So we did. Well, last year we were coaching. I wanted to watching my athletes do 2K. So I was like, I fancy it. I fancy one of these. So
You was boshed out 2K at random.
yeah, with zero training, like literally.
I know this guy, right?
This guy.
And they had Model E machines, which are quite a bit higher. And obviously, what did I pull?
Air's thinner up there.
670?
No, not the first one.
Oh, the 628.
I pulled I went under. I think that was the point. I was like, geez, could I still go under 630? So like pulled 628. It absolutely ruined me to do it. Then like in very tired. Then
What's your all-time best?
53. Popped my
Jerry.
foot out of popped my foot out of the strap. Went to like put my foot on the floor as if I was on a D, but it was higher up. So then my foot just like flies underneath me, and I just like launch myself off into outer space. Yeah, because just having forgotten that was on the higher up ergo. Then having done that, my head then starts going, well, how could you get? And like, what if you did some training? And then all of a sudden my brain's going again. And I ended up doing some sessions and I pulled like a 617 there. For no reason.
What's funny is after people saw how Tom fell off the ergo, every single person started doing that afterwards.
There were some people who started thinking like, oh, I've seen the coach do it now, so it's like,
how do I show that this was max effort? Let me just.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's my fault. Yeah, I've introduced that.
I know what you mean, though. You sort of, it's a sport that's very difficult. I mean, I probably can't speak for everybody here, but having left Cambridge, I did try to sort of get back into it a little bit more socially, having gone back to Molesey. And it's really hard to take a conscious step back.
When you've done it to a high level, when you've made your entire life about maxing out this one thing.
Yeah, and I went back to Molesey and would sort of do half bike, go out on the water maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And you start negotiating with yourself really quickly. And, maybe if I just start doing 5 sessions a week, and maybe I should just chuck in a weight session here, for example. You all of a sudden you start feeling like you have to gravitate back towards being super serious again.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that.
Yeah, because obviously getting very close to winning the ladies' plate, like often my head will be like, if you were going to go back and win the ladies' plate, like, wow, Brooks would be the place to do it now. And I live in Oxford now, and they mostly just run on the weekends. So, and I don't know, Jeanetta works on Saturdays, so I could definitely have Saturdays free, and I could probably convince her Sundays I could do and then all of a sudden you're like, no, hang on, no. Am I planning my entire life around getting back in the Henley crew? Like, stop it! To break yourself out of it. There's more to life. But yeah, maybe one day.
All right, let's talk a little bit about training camps, because they're always a source of big fun.
Concentrated pain, misery, and enjoyment.
I think that's what, like, training camps, when I first started going on training camps in Poland, that's like really what solidified the fact that like I really want to do this rowing thing, because this is super fun, and we get to go away for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we get to row a lot, and we get to eat a lot, and then we get to compete at champs and everything. So
I have a theory at Henley, and I would really like to see some data on this. The more tanned crew normally wins. Call me out if you think I'm wrong, but And I'm thinking to myself, like, normally you get quicker on training camps, right? So normally when a club will get back from a training camp, everybody's just topped up their tan and they all look great. I think more tans crews normally go faster because, and it's probably, it's a spurious relationship. It's not the tan in and of itself that's making them fast, but they've recently got back from a camp.
No, it must be the time.
It also depends. I guess it depends if you're allowed to row tops down or not on camp as well.
That's such a heated debate in rowing. I'm just looking up at that picture of you and 3 mates rowing top down.
No, well, that's for a photo shoot.
Oh, okay.
For the calendar, for the naked calendar.
But you're not naked.
Were you not there? It was like tops down, not fully naked.
Okay. Anyway, I feel the viewers can't see this, so
Great chat for radio.
Yeah, available on Spotify as well.
We will.
I was actually never a big rowing top-down enthusiast. I don't know why. I just for someone who takes tanning as seriously as me, I don't know why. I just was opposed to rowing top-down.
I was one time on training camp in Banyoles when we come down for dinner, and the Spanish woman who ran the place, who doesn't speak a lot of English, comes out.
Carmen.
It's like Carmen. It's like everyone, where is my oil? Who has my oil? Turns out Clive Kennedy Byrne and Al Sinclair have nicked the olive oil off the table and are upstairs on the roof rubbing it in.
Clive Kennedy Byrne was just like the personification of Johnny Bravo. Just like dousing himself with olive oil and getting up on the balcony.
Cooking himself, literally. You can get 3rd-degree burns doing that. So he had to give her oil back. The tops down debate. Yeah, no, I like this.
I love tops down. I'm all for it.
Really?
Yeah. Only on training camps though. Like in Henley, like when there's like general public and everything. No training camps. If you're rowing with a top up, you're not even on a real training camp.
But you sort out the tan lines off the water. Like you get, training camp's about squeezing out every bit of speed you can. Like you're going to be racing in your lycra, you should train in your lycra.
That's true. Yeah. I think I'm a little bit too antisocial to get my tan off.
So much downtime to go and sunbathe and sort out your lycra lines. Right?
But it's not like cycling where tan lines are like fostered heavily.
Yeah,
like
unless
rowing,
you're such
like the white vest look is hot.
So
it's
I
not
had
a
like
good one.
multiple different length cycling shorts. So I'd always come back from any cycling training camp and my thighs would look like a Dulux color chart. Like it was ridiculous.
I know some guys who did cycling quite a high level who would like whatever shorts it was, they would get it in the exact same line and just create this like ridiculously good tan line.
That so much. But we had so much fun on those Leander training camps.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the UK, I don't think it looks good to go tops down.
Well, I used to get like this weird tan where, the 3 different layered Walls ice cream. I would because I would keep changing what kit I'm wearing. I would just basically end up having 3 different tan lines.
What's the word? Neapolitan?
Yeah, Neapolitan.
They call it.
Oh, yeah.
But in Banyoles, that was my last year in Banyoles. One of my last years. Before we went out, some of the guys were saying, how much mileage, classic rower, like turn it into a competition, like how much mileage do you think you can do tops down? So like from the first session, everyone had it down. And then by the end of the camp, it was just me and Dave Lambourne, shout out Dave Lambourne, who did an entire Banyoles camp tops down. Which like when you're coming up in the morning and it's quite cold still and you're like pre-freezing. But I can see Dave's in the stroke seat. So it's like, well, if he's got a tops down, I'll
yeah.
tops down.
And this was a weird one because the sort of sun comes up from behind the mountains as well.
Cold.
So it's really, really cold in the morning. And then sort of ballpark around sort of 9, 10 a.m., the sun would finally pop over the mountain and suddenly it goes up like 25 degrees.
It'd be hilarious though on like when we go on the January camp, like all the locals are in like winter coats and like hats and stuff, and we're just wandering around in an all-in-one tops down because it's like the best sun we've ever seen for months.
You got to be careful if you're going to row on a training camp when it's like super hot in another one, because you're going to get some really bad burn lines. I just remember seeing a photo of Will Satcher, like I think in the Viz,
But you're going to burn more if you have your lycra down.
Yes, but at least you're going to burn evenly. So then you don't just have like this awful all-in-one outline, and that's exactly what he had. He was more red than a lobster. It was just so painful looking at that photo.
One time, I'm not the most experienced tanner. I put that down to my recessive ginger genes, but I had quite bad lycra tan lines, as you do, and I thought I'm going to try and like invert my tan lines. I've got to like catch up by sorting out the white lycra tan lines all over my torso. So I put like SPF 50 all over my arms, but like bronzing oil all over the actual like lycra tan lines on my torso, and thought, perfect. Now I'm going to go sunbathe and the white parts are going to catch up. Didn't work. I had these horrendous lycra burn lines instead. Normally you just have like lycra white where you've been wearing your kit, but instead I just had this perfectly formed burnt section all over my body. I looked ridiculous. But yeah, my mum's ginger, so I don't tan at all. I try so hard to get a tan, but it's completely futile. I can't pull it off.
I burn way too much. So since we're talking about bañuelas, cheers.
Got a Spanish beer in.
We've got some Estrella.
See?
Cerveza.
Other brands of beer are available.
What's cheers in Spanish?
Let's just say salud.
Bueno.
Is it?
No.
Bueno. Nice.
My mum's ginger, and I inherited my dad's Microsoft Excel ability and my mum's tanning dunes. So I really feel like I drew both short straws.
I remember, to be fair, that you can, I guess, genetics a little bit, but like Al Sinclair, like when he first came down from Inverness, was whiter than white, and then after 2 or 3 Bañuelas camps, like put some serious work in on the roof. He's got to be the brownest Scottish guy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Tanners.
You should get on, because they have this, like, I've heard of this sort of tanning accelerator called Ludicrously Black. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, my wife uses it.
Oh, okay. How's that? Does it work?
She doesn't. I wouldn't call her ludicrously black.
Refund.
She's a big fan of the tan. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But for context, I can see it in plain sight in the bathroom, and I am tempted to steal some.
Go for it.
It's quite sunny outside at the minute, so yeah. If just before I leave, I'll probably just.
We should take some for Al, because we're going out to St Andrews for next week.
We'll recut from this angle. We'll recut back to Dave in like 5 minutes, and he'll be ludicrously black.
me and Al used to sneak off to somewhere to get sunbeds on the sly. Once upon a time, we called it. We'd just be in the living room sometimes. We'd just say, "Fancy a trip to the Electric Beach," and we just go treat ourselves to a 6-minute sunbed.
What, in Henley?
No, it wasn't in Henley. We had to go to Caversham.
Oh, I never knew this.
Yeah, you should come. It's great fun.
Yeah. No, I just use my ludicrously black, whatever that is.
That in and of
Sun
itself
cream.
doesn't make you more tanned. It accelerates the tan. So.
Oh yeah, you have to go on the bed. Don't, yeah, she
Yeah,
goes on
yeah.
the tanning bed. Yeah, that's what she uses.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, you may as well just get paint. So.
I remember the first time I went to Bañuelas in January. It is pretty cold. We'd finished a session. It's like 5 p.m. It was getting dark, and it was my birthday. So you all chucked me in on the landing stage.
Oh, is that when we wrapped you up in gaffer tape and hung you from the?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, that's a different one.
Just because Bañuelas camp was always at the end of January, so I had about six or
Sorry
seven
for that.
6 or 7 of my birthdays on camp. No, the first one you chucked me in, and I went to swim back to the landing stage, and then you pushed me off, chucked me in again.
That sounds like something.
And then the second time I started swimming, it was so cold that I could feel I was like, I can't really swim anymore. So it's kind of like, got myself to that. Then I think Satch tried to push me off again. And I was like, mate, no, like, I'm going to go down.
It was great fun in the summer, just going for a little swim off the landing stage.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
It was, what was it, the June 2008 camp, I think it was. I remember Wilco was swimming off the end of the landing stage at one point. And so I think Wilco was in the Grand 8 that year, and the ladies' plate 8 was coming in.
Yeah.
And they were coming in fast.
Yeah.
And he thought it'd be a good idea to just swim out sort of in front of the landing stage. And he decided he was going to catch the bows. So he sort of was swimming on his back and let the bows sort of come up on him. And he just grabbed the bow and sort of surfed. And like, ballsy move, because if that bow ball had hit him in the head, yeah, he'd be out cold.
Oh, I remember it was like a noise. It was like a... and then like...
Thud.
Obviously then with a guy hanging off it, the boat starts decelerating. Everyone just like what the
fuck? Yeah.
There was
like,
definitely some tension.
You don't do crap like that like a few weeks out from Henley. He could have easily put himself out.
I mean, I thought you were going to tell the story when we were all swimming. And then he went a little bit further out and everyone was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm having a shit. Don't come over here. Just did a crap in the lake.
I remember, I think it was February trials. I think it was 2011 or something like that, 2011, 2012, whatever. And February trials are at Dorney for some reason. And overnight, it was -12. So obviously Dorney's like completely frozen over. Everybody still has to go to Dorney anyway because they're not going to cancel it. So everyone's there lingering around, waiting for GB trials to occur. It's still -10. And you don't need to be a chemistry expert to know that the lake isn't going to thaw out when it's -10 degrees. But they kept us around for hours and hours anyway. And Wilco's just getting progressively more pissed off with all this. So he walks out on the ice in the middle of Dorney Lake. He's like, look, it's not fucking breaking. We're not racing. Can we go home now? And all the coaches are like, get off now. What are you doing? And finally, everybody sort of saw sense and thought, you know what? He's probably right. Let's cancel the racing. Come on.
Remember, there's a video from that bit as well where they smashed ice over my head.
Yes.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
I think it's on Facebook, isn't it?
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Have I seen it? Have you showed me 50 times?
I'll post it on the Last Stroke Counts.
Oh, it's for
everyone to see.
I think,
it's quite funny.
I think the world deserves to see that. That was a brilliant headbutt.
Oh, smashing
Good techers
ice.
as well.
It's not the first time I smashed ice over my head.
That was the same camp, if I remember rightly, when about half the people who'd gone decided to just go out on this massive night out on night one of camp.
About this with Zoe just recently talked about it. Yeah, go on.
My sort of key takeaway from it, my favourite parts was the following day. We're just out and about in this 8, and we're just doing like a 12k paddle, and our rate's sort of fluttering anywhere between about 15 and 22 because our stroke man had gone out so hard the night before, and the rest of us had stayed completely sober.
Yeah, it was the other crew and our stroke man.
Yeah. But it was the nickname that was getting shouted out. To this day, it's my favourite nickname I've heard used in this sport at any point. So the full backstory was there's a guy called Ray in our squad, and he was racing the Y-folds the previous season. And they're racing, I think it was City of Oxford, something like that. So they get up loads off the start, crash into the booms, obviously down after that, through the middle of the race, charge back through the other crew, crash into the booms again, and end up losing. So he hit the booms twice in one race. So our bowman had nicknamed him Basil Brush.
Do you know Basil Brush?
No.
The little cartoon fox.
It's like a TV from a kid show. It's like a TV kid, like a puppet fox, and his little catchphrase was "boom boom."
Yeah, he'd make these like crap puns, and every time he'd do it, he'd say "boom boom." So our bowman had nicknamed Ray Basil Brush, and whenever he'd say it, Ray would just flip out.
He did like it. Yeah.
So obviously Ray's sort of fluttering around all over the place with the rates, and we've got Davy Jones in the bow just shouting "boom boom Basil Brush" every few minutes. Oh, holy shit! It was a tense outing, but it's to this day my favourite ever rowing nickname.
What a great way.
I like there's just like talking about how things escalate. Like just one time during a video session, the camera wasn't working, and Brian, our coach, was getting pissed off, and then Ray just kind of managed to like flick a few buttons and get this camera to work. And then Brian just nonchalantly like turns around to Ray. Ray's like, "Oh, the great Raymondo fixes it." And like from that catchphrase, like fast forward 2 months, there'll be someone like me and Dave like going, "The great Raymondo." It was just because Brian once said, like, "Oh, that's a good one, Ray."
I never actually saw this firsthand, but I'd heard this story through Clive. You know my thoughts on single scullers, like they're a special kind of weird.
Oh yeah,
my
absolutely.
First ever sort of serious high level single sculler that I have any sort of recollection of, Ian Lawson.
Absolute nutter, loved it.
Absolute nutter, like so jacked, like,
monster.
Yeah, absolute monster. But a shining example of when you spend too much time with a single scull and you get sort of cabin fever, and your chat starts to go a little bit weird.
Oh yeah.
I know, you spend too much time in a single scull, your chat gets weird. Like I don't know how to. I don't.
It's cabin fever because you're so away from the people that you have to kind of amuse yourself. You have to be your own entertainer, and then that just kind of doesn't. You don't vibe it.
I mean, to be fair, it gets weird enough in a crew.
Apparently, Clive
that's true.
Found Ian, so Clive walks into the gym in Leander one day, and Ian's on one of the spin bikes, and he's just practicing saying the great Raimondo to himself. But he's not completing any individual like great Raimondo. It's like if he doesn't get the G right, he'd restart it. So Clive's like in the entrance,
can hide round the corner.
You can sort of see Ian round the corner, and Ian's just going, the great Raimondo. He's just not spitting the whole thing out because he's not happy with how he's pronouncing the G and the R. Like, Ian, what are you doing?
But that's good banter because he's basically trying to get it as good as possible to wind Ray up as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, but you don't actively practice this stuff.
Single scullers do.
Single scullers do.
He was. I think I told this story, but he was the first that trial weekend I came to Leander. I obviously saw these two. I nearly said their name. Saw these two boys messing about on the computer. But then that night, I went into the crew room, and the first athlete I saw in the crew room for dinner was Ian Lawson. He came in to the crew room. He'd ordered his food. He butters 6 pieces of bread, sits down. Whole crew meal turns up, which at Leander is like at least what people would say 2 portions, 2.5 of a normal person's portion.
Yeah.
It's this big like stew on rice. Destroys it, mops it up with 6 pieces of bread, destroys that, and then the next time the waitress comes in, he hands her the plate and says, I need some more, can you fill that up again? And I was just like, what the fuck? He was, I loved him. He had like a load of catchphrases.
Did he?
Yeah, it's a real season ender. Do you remember that one? Yeah, like someone like same thing. Someone once in the gym trips over whilst carrying a weight, like drops it and nearly hits their foot and goes like, "Oh, that was nearly a season ender." Like cue 4 weeks later, what a season ender! Like,
I remember when anybody needed to go for like. You know when you've got sort of a nervous poos before like a 2K erg test?
Yeah.
He'd come back saying, "Oh, that was a real porcelain cracker." Jesus, Ian.
dirty old dog.
Dirty old dog.
Yeah.
He
had catchphrase after catchphrase. That man.
You got to entertain yourself in a single skull.
That's it.
That's it. It's mad cabin fever.
Well, otherwise, what is just taking strokes and counting water drops? You know?
Even in the crew, there's times when like there was that time on camp when a few of the lads had watched a film called. Did we talk about this last time? Sexy Beast.
Oh yeah,
and people ended up quoting this film so much that you
have to turn
Dave
this opportunity down. You're going to have to turn this opportunity. Yes,
exactly. So Dave has never watched the film. Yeah, can quote the entire thing from the amount of time we end up.
Yeah,
and then just random. Do you remember like random stuff just starts getting said like cheese and meat? I mean, there was a period where Will Satch, like, you almost like formed Tourette's from yourself. Like, all I can hear from the ladies' plate is Will Satch going, cheese, meat, cheese and meat. And Clive Kennedy-Byrne loved to wind Will up. It's always like giving him a nudge, making him do something stupid. Well, I've actually got, I don't even know how to say this. Yeah, it's not that bad. I've got a pretty hilarious video somewhere filmed on some horrifically old Sony Ericsson phone of Clive Kennedy-Byrne chasing Will Satch around the men's changing rooms with the carpet cleaner. And he's chasing him into the shower, then they're running in the shower, and they're running out the shower, and then Will like slips and like hits the deck.
Real season ender.
Yeah. And he was all right. I remember like quite recently seeing that video and thinking, imagine if he'd like done his leg or smacked his head back then and never gone on to do anything, like some stupid stuff that we used to do.
You literally developed Tourette's though. Like I just remember going around the gym and it's like, just even on the ergo, just randomly, like if you're doing like a 12K or like a half hour after squat and you just get one person going, hi, and then everyone just trolls it. So you can't avoid that. You're not
or
gonna
like chain whips, things like that.
Oh yeah. I was never a fan of chain whips.
No?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so you two are the experts, right? This is literally your job. So, like, you know this stuff. So let's settle this debate right now. Is whipping the chain, like, midway through an erg, is that bad for the erg?
So Tom's got a story to answer that question.
Yeah,
I always thought it just knackers the flywheel.
Nah.
No?
Nah.
Okay, well, whip to your heart's content.
Yeah, so I was at Leander, I think it was maybe a year after I'd quit. And I was coaching down there, so I was in the gym, but I wasn't training. But the boys were doing a half hour, and it was a tough one. They were trying to G each other up, and there's a bit of chain whipping. And Beachy goes like, I don't want to see any more chain whips. If I see another chain whip again, you're going to pay to repair it. And I just went, boys, if you break a chain on a whip, I'll fix it for free. Crack on. Properly pissed Beachy off. And then they were like, that's the thing that sucked about a dynamic, no chain whip.
Oh yeah, it's just a little flappy.
Yeah.
He needs like a squeezy horn or something.
That is a good point. No chain whip on a dynamic because he's just going to slip or hit the front of the.
No one likes dynamics.
Oh, I actually really enjoyed training on that. No, they were good.
It'd always be like 15 splits slower.
Well, no, I used to get better
me or
splits
the
on-
erg?
That's you.
Okay.
I used to get better scores on the dynamic than I used to get on the static erg because I could just get the legs on. I would practice keeping my arms straight and everything. Like,
It takes time.
yeah.
So how do you like? What does break ergs? Like, because I remember, like, you know, back in our glory days when we do a 30 rate 20, and you'd think, okay, us smaller athletes are obviously trying to get the length. So whenever the coaches weren't looking, we'd start like drawing up over our heads.
That's not going to break it.
No, that's not going to break it either.
It's just like for the most part of the chain, just think about like a bike chain. It's just wear and tear, just miles. Like over time, it's a metal cog on a metal chain. Over time, it'll just wear.
I mean, sometimes we go to rowing clubs and then the monitor will just be cracked in a very weird way where the side of it has got like chain marks on it. So someone's dropping the handle like from here, just fucking smacks into the monitor.
Yeah. The most likely ways by using it, you're going to damage it is twisting the shit out of the chain because you find it funny. Dropping the handle.
Twists chains. That's just dumb.
Kids do it. Dropping the handle and it smashes into the screen. Or like standing on the rail or sitting on the seat, not how like you sit on a seat sideways if you like want to like talk to someone, like you start bed in a seat, like but in general,
or pouring squash into the flywheel. Like someone's
yeah,
erging, so it sprays them with sticky water.
That's actually quite funny.
it is funny.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, hilarious. Not for the guys that then have to clean it out because then you've coated the entire inside of this fan that sucks air in sticky water and then it spends a year picking up the fucking dust from it. So don't do it because we have to clean up after you. I'm going to start charging more.
What are we going to call this episode? Like just erg care tips? Like,
yeah, we should. It's probably not that interesting for that. We can move on. What was I going to say? Something else about
the chain whip
fixing the ergs. The dynamic.
Bullet point this.
So dynamic, yeah. So I just before my back went really badly in like 2010. No, I think probably a bit later than that. I can't remember. But before I started using the dynamic full time, which would be more like 2012. So maybe like 10, 11, I broke 9K on a regular erg. Woo. Then my back went. Then I went on the dynamic, and I think it took me like another 2 years to get back to 9K. So like it was a real fucking. It definitely made me better at rowing though, because the difference being you cannot on a regular erg you can just lean on it at the back.
Yeah,
you can just lean your weight on it, especially as me as a big guy, long stroke, lean on it.
Yeah,
and you just the dynamic doesn't let you do that. You have to connect early.
Dynamic's all about the core and the connection at the front though.
Okay. I mean, I'm a relative midget in the rowing world, so I gave up on 30 rate 20s.
We're almost the same height, so I understand the struggle.
I definitely have a big advantage at rate 20 being this tall.
Yeah, whenever I do 30 rate 20s, I just rate 24 when no one was looking.
But I remember like our first year at Leander, I remember we did quite a few together. I remember like taking chunks out of each other, trying to go like under 45, things like that.
Yeah.
I
think what was my all-time was 41.8, which is all right for a midget.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Sub 42,
Yeah.
I did. I'm pretty happy I went 9K on a regular and on a dynamic. I don't think there's many people that have gone 9K on a dynamic. But being honest, that like 9K on a dynamic is when 5 out of 6 of the averages are like 21, 20, average 20.
Yeah, we've all played that game.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows all the tricks of like getting it down.
On the Until Concept updates their firmware and how they interpret the average rate on the monitors. And then everyone's screwed.
You ever get like if you pull like a score, like if the finish score says like 6 dead and you're just like, please on the memory let it change, because it would generally be like 0.1 less the average on the memory.
Yeah, that actually saved me. In the gym the other day we had like a ski erg challenge, and then Tom obviously rocks up
the ski erg challenge.
Yeah. So you had to basically go 30 seconds, just rag the hell out of it, and then I was like, I'm eyeing this up, and Tom's like, all right, let me have a go, and then just obviously puts down a monster score. Like just got.
You seen the video of Eddie Hall doing the 100-meter ski erg?
No, but then
Eddie Hall,
ripping the thing in half.
like 500 kilo deadlift, like former world's strongest man.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would not want to see him do that. To be fair,
He
but
basically just jumps and then just lets his body weight just pull the handles down, and he's ripping out like 103 splits on the skier.
oh, that is disgusting. I've never gone below 116 on that. So anyway, so I end up doing the ski erg challenge, and then I get 1 meter less, and I'm just really pissed off. Then the night before the challenge is over, I come back, I do it again. I just literally just put my headphones on, get on it, start it. Got 1 meter less again, but then I go into the memory screen. I'm thinking like maybe there is a chance, and then I got 1 meter extra. So thank you, concept.
What was the early challenge we did when we went in and obviously smashed it?
It was 200 meters
200 meters.
on 10 resistance.
Oh yeah, that's pretty brutal on the back.
Okay.
Yeah, and then do you wanna?
Weird. Because I'd done it once, hadn't I? And I completely messed it up. And then so we're going back to the gym, and I was like, "Nah, I want to put a good score down." So we like went into the gym. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning, so there's not many people around. We like took the ergo and moved it into a different place, so like been more space around or whatever. And it's just like normal, it's like 10 o'clock in a public gym. There's like a middle-aged woman. There's a couple of guys doing a bit of cardio. And then I'm sat on the erg, and like Pete's cheering me up. He's like, "Come on, let's get it. What will Jurgen do right now? Jurgen's watching. Let's have it." And then
Jurgen's watching.
something like that. To get me all G'd up, so I get all fired up, and I go for it, like something. I'll pull like a
111 average.
score that I'm happy with.
111
Average.
So then we both like stand up. We're like, yeah, like massive like high five and everything. Everyone else in the gym is like, "What's going on here?"
They must have lost their mind or something.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was good. And the hardest part about those challenges is someone has to stand on the back end of the ergo, because if you apply enough legs at the finish, you're going to lift the back end, the front end of it.
I don't. My max splits were nowhere near big enough to have that problem, so I didn't have to worry about it.
I wonder if anyone on the podcast has got a bigger one split max than me, because I got a 105 when we fixed the OUBC Dynamics in 2021.
Maybe that could become like a recurring feature of the podcast. Like you just get an erg in here, like a ski erg in here, and you get like, because you know how on Top Gear they have the like
Reasonably priced car.
it could be like a Rogue Gear.
Do you know what? This is hilarious that you bring this up, because when I actually thought about like starting this podcast like a few years ago, like that was one of the things I wanted to have, like a sort of like a Top Gear challenge where everyone like comes and does like a 500 meter. But then I was like, maybe not.
I mean, that might people often coming like, "Yeah, I'd love to talk about Roma. I'm not bloody getting on a row machine."
No, but that would be funny. So yeah, if anyone's listening, if you've got a bigger one rep max split than me, 105, please.
Photos are a different.
I mean, you live on a sort of fairly circular estate, and we all drive here, so we could just make like a little Strava segment for this road.
Well, we're gonna
not endorse this behavior.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna put wheels attached to the indoor rower. So put the erg on the wheels and just try and do like laps around the estate, but in the ergo with the wheels on.
When I moved just outside of Henley to Sonning Common, which is there was a route from where I worked in Henley to back. There was like a sort of an off-road gravel route. It was like 2 miles long, and it was a Strava section, and I was riding it every day, getting faster and faster. It was quite good fun because it's like dirt and gravel, skidding around and stuff. And this guy had like a decent score in it, and I was just like got obsessed. I worked harder and harder and harder to the point that I would like finish work, go and like do like a little 10-minute like chill warm up, and then like arrive at the start of this thing like warmed up, stretched, ready to go, blast it, put this time in, finally get King of the Mountain on this section. It's like, yes, like I've got it, like smashed it, amazing. And then learned that you could go into the other guy's ride and look at what he did, like the total ride.
This is very serious.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you can see that whole activity.
Yeah, so then I go in on the ride like, oh, well, I've beaten this guy now. Like, let's have a look at his ride. He did it as part of like a 2.5 hour ride. Like he was just like chilling. Meanwhile, I've just like attacked this thing like some like classic rower mentality.
Yeah, like any Strava segment. There's so much in the cycling community we refer to it as environmental doping. So any significant Strava segment is going to have been got in like a raging tailwind. For example, like there's a route between St Ives and Cambridge. It's called the St Ives Cambridge Busway, and it's just a sort of 17 kilometer pan flat path that just goes along this old bus route. And it got so heated, but the Strava rankings for this were really competitive. And because I was cycling into Cambridge quite regularly and my mum lived in St. Ives, I wanted this KOM so much. So
KOM?
King of the Mountains.
All right,
so the fastest person ever to do it on Strava.
Yeah.
And I take this really, really seriously. And one day, I just thought, I'm just going to go for it. I was doing time trial cycling at the time. So I rocked up like full TT bike, disc wheel, deep rim front, like aero helmet, full skin suit.
All
like,
the gear.
All the gear. And there's all these like, people using this path for like walking their dogs and stuff like that. And I'm whizzing past them at like 60k an hour on my bike, blasting up and down as fast as I can. And I get this KOM and I'm so happy because I knocked up the guy who did have the KOM was just like, he's now a World Tour pro. So I took him off the KOM. I was like, this is my finest hour in sport, bar none. And then about 2 years later, I get the dreaded email from Strava. You get this email from Strava and it says, uh-oh, and someone's going to steal your KOM. And whenever I get one of those emails, I think to myself, God, don't be the busway. Someone had taken that. It was like Storm Beatrice or something like that. So there's a 70k an hour tailwind along this route. And some guy had just gone out and thought, you know what? I'm going to go get that KOM. And he stole my KOM with such a serious case of environmental doping. And that's just how Strava works. So any big KOM, you need a ripping tailwind.
That's called playing the game smart, like using all the environment, like
So next time there's a storm that's blowing like an easterly wind, I'm going to get back
wherever you are.
Yeah. I'm just gonna do it in my car.
I'd like to do more cycling. I would like to have a better quality bike, but now living in Oxford, like even with the bike I have, just like the thought of leaving it anywhere without visibly being able to see it is like it's going to disappear.
I love the trick that you did for like making your bike unattractive to any thieves. It's just basically badly spray painted pink and write stolen on it.
Yeah, so the bike, because I've already been in Oxford. I've been in Oxford 5 years. I've already had a few bikes nicked. My wife's had like 8 bikes stolen.
I had 3 stolen when I lived in Cambridge.
Yeah, it's ridiculous shit.
It's unbelievable.
So I just started with like 150 quid basic bike from Wig or whatever, and then get it home and then just get every random colour of paint I can and make it look as shit as possible. Put tape all over the seat, even though it doesn't need to be taped. Yeah. And then I will write, this bike is stolen all over it.
My strategy was always just to put, like, I didn't have a particularly good bike, but the strategy was always put it next to a better bike.
Yeah.
Just hope theirs get stolen instead.
The thing is, if you want it to not get stolen, because the worst thing about it is, like, I've had a bike, like a 500 quid bike nicked, and the worst thing about it is I know that's just got sold for 20 quid to someone else in the street. And you're like, so it's not even about you need to make it look like it's not even worth 20 quid, basically.
Yeah. It's not worth having a nice bike.
But that's the other thing that annoys me when I first met my wife. Literally, our first date, she was like,
pasta and beans.
No, we went to McDonald's.
Shut.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So
just the first day king, you are.
Well, she married me, so we.
So wait. Pasta and beans leads to a 7-year relationship, and McDonald's leads to a marriage.
Yeah.
Here I am, like planning the most elaborate dates ever on Hinge, and I'm still single at 36, and you're just cracking out pasta and beans and getting like all the luck in the world. Like, this is the system's broken.
We went on that first date. She said to me, "Oh, my bike got stolen last week." I was like, "Oh, that's gutted." Like, "Oh, how many of you?" And at that point, she'd had like 5 bikes stolen. She was like, "Yeah, I'm really pissed off. It was a good one. I'm stolen. It's all right though, because yesterday I bought a bike off a guy for a tenner." And I was like, "You're the problem. Like, you've got to stop. You can't be buying bikes off random people for 10 quid. That's why they steal bikes." But yeah, first date. So we went, it was a bank holiday Monday. And we went for a dog walk in Oxford. Because I thought, that's pretty chill. We'll just go for a dog walk.
Yeah.
Then we finished the dog walk about sort of 6 p.m.
What year was this?
2015.
Okay, so like way pre-COVID.
Yeah, none of that. Yeah. Okay. And it had been going quite well. So we thought, should we go and get like I think we said we should go and get a coffee somewhere. So then we drove into Oxford, went into Oxford.
McLatte.
But it's bank holiday Monday and it's 6 p.m. So everywhere's shut apart from McDonald's. And I was like, we can't.
You're styling this out well.
I think I said to her, I was like, obviously, we can't go there.
Yeah.
And she was like,
Why not?
Yeah, split a fillet of fish.
She's like, why not? Let's go. Let's go. And then we went in there, and then I was like, well, I'm sort of quite hungry. And she's like, yeah, go whatever you want. So I was like, well, all right, I'll get a Big Mac. So I got a Big Mac meal, and she got some salad, ate half my Big Mac.
Naturally.
And I was like, good, like, fair play. Like, all right, good girl.
Get your own Big Mac.
So it worked quite well. Randomly also sat next to what was clearly a drug dealer.
Okay. How did you know that?
So we sat on the
The
table.
romantic first date.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, isn't it? Yeah. We sat on the table on the sort of the like the high table stall bars on the window, and we're sat sort of talking. And there's a guy sat next to us. He's like looks like a bit of a geezer. He's got a brown paper bag on the floor. He's not eating any food. He's just looking at his phone. And every 5 minutes, his phone rings, and he goes, "Yeah, how many? Yeah, all right." Puts the phone down, and then this little kid walks in, and he reaches down into his bag, gives the kid something. The kid gives him some money, and then the kid walks out and gives it to a client.
The kid?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, that could be drugs, but that could also be Happy Meal toys. So,
I mean,
don't always assume.
Yeah, I think it's because it was children. I think it's safe to assume that those were Happy Meal toys.
I don't mean literally kids, obviously. I mean teenagers.
Like, they're just like 5 like Beyblade accessories.
Yeah, no, this is
They're
just
like firing the spinners into their bathtub at home.
this is just for YouTube censorship. Like, it was definitely Happy Meal toys.
Could have been Happy Meal
definitely
toys.
Happy Meal toys.
I didn't know. I couldn't prove it. But then I was like, this is pretty weird. I don't want to sit next to this guy anymore. So we left. But yeah, and I ended up marrying her. So I don't know. I just got lucky.
Maybe Dave, maybe you should try Taco Bell.
Maybe. No, that's it. Like I don't know. Maybe my next first date, I'll just go pasta and beans straight away.
Did I ever make it for you?
Probably at some point.
Because if you haven't eaten it, I'm sorry, you can't comment. It's delicious.
All you got to do is,
I like pasta and I like beans.
And you like cheese.
Yeah, like they go together like Chinese food and ice cream.
It's basically...
Have you ever had that?
No, I'm quoting Talladega Nights.
All right. I heard you guys are really good at quoting the Step Brothers film.
Step Brothers, Talladega, anything with Will Ferrell in.
I saw a like one of those like internet meme fake tweet things. I don't know what they're called, but one of them was just saying, "Hey, remember like before Facebook, guys just used to sit around and quote Anchorman."
I think you sent it to me, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said it.
Yeah.
Like use whatever. Yeah, you spring to mind.
So the other day we had Tim Foster on, and he was talking about the Sydney Olympics, and he was saying he's saying things that, because he was sort of saying in 92 and 96 it wasn't really that professional. People were still sort of, some people were on the sofa bed even at the Olympics, and he said 2000 it's got more serious. We each had our own room, but the rooms were really small, and there were 2 beds in each room, but there was literally only space for 2 beds. And me and James had worked out that you could make the beds into bunk beds. So we decided to make our beds into bunk beds so that we had more room. And I, at the time, thinking this is hilarious, we then get a message from a girl we know, the captain at Kingston Rowing Club.
Yeah, Sally, shout out.
Sally's like, did you just notice that Tim gave you the plot of Step Brothers there?
She was like, he must have definitely been winding you up. And then
I was James is there like doing a step class in the open space. Like, it's like, hey, I've been meaning to ask, do you like guacamole? And then like the whole thing just comes crashing down.
There's so much room for activity.
Said to Sully, like, number one, at the time I did think this is hilarious.
No power tools, Brennan.
Oh, that's just my toothbrush.
Toothbrush, mister.
I just
Well
thought.
done now anyway.
Oh, no. I thought this is hilarious because he's talking about Step Brothers. But then also, does
he see
No,
Step
no.
Oh.
Because then I also thought, if you've ever been on any shitty sort of like hostel training camp, you also know those beds that are made. They've got like a little pin in the bottom. Like there are like, you must have been to, like, I think that's half of the joke, isn't it? That if you've ever been to a crappy hostel or some cheap accommodation with school or on a school trip or a rowing camp.
Hazelwinkle.
Yeah, Hazelwinkle.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, the beds literally just slot together, and like you'd realistically make it like triple story if the ceiling was a little bit higher. Like, that'd be so much extra floor space
for activities.
Yeah, just move the beds outside and have like the Megatron just walking up front.
Like that back in 0809 going out, the fan favourite was a 4-man bass, Human Pyramid.
Yeah.
At 2 a.m.
That's just a staple of our own community, though. I see, because we're at that stage where basically everyone's getting married except me, and there's so many like 4-man bass photos I see happening at weddings.
Did you go to? You were at a Cambridge crew reunion at one of your boys' weddings.
That is
In September.
Yeah, that's in September.
That's Nathan, the Polish guy.
Yeah. So off to Tuscany for a little bit. But
nice.
yeah, I mean, maybe we'll push it out. Go for a 5-man base.
Are you going to Webby's wedding?
Yes.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. You?
A bit inconsiderate that it's on qualifiers of Henley Royal Regatta.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's that weekend.
Better pre-qualify then.
So, so I'll get that weekend, and then I'll come back and do Henley.
That's gonna be a fun wedding.
Oh, I'm absolutely getting to that. Yeah.
4 days in Greece.
Why is it in Greece? Why not?
Why not?
I can't really complain. I got married.
Yeah, I've known Webby a long
Prague.
time. He's always been very steadfast in his desire for a location wedding. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm sure he was driving that one.
Oh yeah, I remember when we lived with him. His big binder of everything he was going to do at his wedding.
Yeah, he loved scrapbooking. Yeah.
I think no offense to Webby, but he's a acquired taste at times. I think I remember I was back at my parents the other day, and I said to mum and dad, "Oh, Webby's getting married." Over in my mum's comment was like, "Wow, he's found a girl who can deal with him."
Yeah, and they're very happy together.
Of course, he's a
It's
legend.
actually really sweet to see.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm well happy for him. I'd love to get him on here as well. He's pretty busy now.
Well, we're organising the Thames Cup reunion at some point, so it's probably going to happen.
Well, should we? Who do we have to talk to do a row by? We could do a row by. How long's it been? How long will it have been in 2024?
2023 was, mate, you could do basic subtraction.
No, you are my calculator. Do you remember?
I'm aware of that, but like, it's subtraction. Okay, what's 2024 minus 2008?
12.
Fuck's sake.
16? 16.
16.
16
Yeah, so
years.
that famous 16-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah, that's not a great one.
It's 2 to the power 4, so that'll do.
It's not a great one. We might have to wait 5 more years then from now. 20-year reunion. Friday lunchtime row past.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't fancy it?
No, I would be up for that. I'll be up for that. Like, so what we all going to be in? How old will we be then? As long as we don't do what that Harvard crew did. Did you see that?
No.
So you had one of the, I think it was a quarterfinal of the Goblets or something like that. And there's this Harvard veterans crew doing a row past. I think there's a video of it on like Uni Rowing or something like that. Go check it out. But one of these veterans, they literally just, they were sort of at the crossing point and they just lost their bearings and started rowing up the course into the path of Wingo and Tom George's pair.
No.
Yeah. So they had to stop that race and restart it. Sort of midway up the course, they restarted the race at the barrier. He really smoothly edited it out in all the footage, but there's unofficial footage of it around. Yeah, go check it out. It's good.
Oh, that's crazy.
You want to if you've got a really old crew, you want to make sure you don't use a different cox. You don't want to senile cox just forgetting the pattern and rowing onto the.
Chrissy's very sharp. She'll still be with it.
Are you guys going to do the fake 10?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Full race plan.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we're going to go on
not.
training camp for this row past.
Oh, Bagnola, one more time?
Bagnolo.
And YOLO.
I just went
Is that
to.
not how you call it?
Yeah, I went to Barcelona for the first time. I actually went into Barcelona, so I've flown in there like about 12 times for training camp, but never actually seen Banyeres. Never seen Barcelona, so I went with the missus and we actually went to see some culture, and then we went to a music festival, which was quite fun. But yeah. But I'd like to take it to Banyeres. Like I think I worked out. I've spent about 4 months of my life there, at least 4 or 5 months.
I think I've been to Banyoles 6 times now.
Oh.
I think I was like 11 times.
So how would you compare being in Bagnoles with Cambridge as opposed to Leander? Obviously, very, very different timelines.
Yeah, so went there twice with Cambridge, and it was always so with Leander we'd sort of go there in January and then again in June. With Cambridge we'd just go there in January. It was always such a well-timed camp because the Ely in the depths of winter is just absolutely horrendous. So these Cambridge camps, I think the first one we did, I think we were out there for like 12 days. It was a really, really long camp and quite a bit of selection happens on it as well. Mm-hmm. But no, it's an exciting one because normally what happens when you go to Cambridge, you get down there, everybody's in 8s for a little while. And then you get into 4s and you start sort of getting a rank order of people quite quickly. They take Force Head very seriously there. And as soon as Force Head is done, then all of a sudden you're in preparation for trial 8s. So you're in match dates all the time. So camp is actually the first time you actually get into ranked 8s. they're very particular to call them the A and B boats rather than Blue Boat and Goldie at the time.
Yeah.
But it's still a fairly exciting time with Cambridge because the crews are starting to form there. Whereas when I'd go with Leander, this was sort of right at the beginning of my career, where we talked about it on the last podcast. When I was at Leander, I was just a bit of a sort of inexperienced muppet. I didn't really know how to manage training camps, so I just turned up every day. Was very stubborn about never wearing my leggings. Would always sort of get little injuries and just hide them. It was very different. It was very different, but
It was a mileage camp as well with Leander, wasn't it?
yeah. I think one of the best things about January camps is it breaks up the winter for a bit.
Yeah. I mean, for like at Leander, because in Leander we were on the river, so we have 3.5K to row. So it's not too much of a problem going to Banyos doing 2K camp, 2K lake. Whereas like when you're in the team and you spend your entire life at Caversham, you do not want to go on camp and do a 2K lake.
That's one thing I missed about about being in the UK from like being back in Poland. Like we'd go on training camps all the time there, whether they were national training camps or we'd have always a winter and a summer one like Leander, I guess. But it just felt like there was a bit more of them, and then sometimes training
really
could get a bit
expensive.
samey.
It's really expensive.
And I guess maybe like it's cheaper over in Poland.
Ely, similar to Leander, like it's a river, perhaps even better for training in that Ely basically just goes on forever. I think it's something like 35K.
Wow.
Just go in one direction from the boathouse. So you could, in theory, have a 70K outing with one spin if you really wanted to.
Wow.
We didn't.
Well, I mean, if you invite Henry Belhash with Brooks there, they might do some paddling, and it's like whoever gives up first.
Yeah, they just keep going to the North Sea. Like, what was that Take That video they did again?
A what?
Do you see, I can't remember what year it was released, but Take That did this song called The Flood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? And it's Take That are racing in this quadruple scull. I think, no, not. How many
It was
people
a
are in
five.
Take
I
That?
think it was a
Quad, I
five.
think,
Yeah, what's that? Pentuple?
Did they make a
yeah.
five?
Yeah, so they're racing in this pentaple skull, and they lose the race, but they want to kind of come together as a team. So they just keep rowing, and they just keep going to the North Sea. And I'm pretty sure you could probably do that at Ely if you wanted to. My geography is not that great, but I remember actually that Take That video.
Did you do some filming for it?
I didn't do any filming for it, so I was preparing for USA in 2010. I was taking that really quite seriously.
Yeah.
But it meant I missed all these really good filming opportunities. Not only did a group of Leander guys get asked to go film for the Take That video, but that was also had the social network as well.
I was gutted. I did like one of the first 1 or 2 days of social network when we had the two actors came down to teach them how to row. And then they said, if you're going to sign up for the rest of it, you need to be available for like 2 whole weeks of filming after Henley. And I had under 23, so I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But we were getting paid £300 a day. And because you're not just like a background actor, you become like
it's a
part of
specific
it.
skill.
Yeah.
I think it's called like a skilled extra.
Yeah, so £300 a day, and then the guys that did it for like 21 days of filming. So you can imagine how much they made. In a time, like we said, where I was
21
making...
times 300.
What's
Which
that,
is-
Dave?
No, you're going to do it.
No
Stop
way.
using me as your calculator.
No way I'm going to do that.
Dave, can I use it as
No.
what's 21 times 300?
Do it
It's like
yourself.
£6,000,
Yeah.
6,300.
6,300. There you go.
I think the best way is not to ask Dave to do the math, is to say something outrageously wrong until he can't like stop himself. Like,
Yeah,
correct
just-
it.
At the time,
Dave, what's 300 times 21? Like 550.
That's a
you
nice bulging forehead pain you've got going on there.
Yeah. But I start like having an aneurysm.
do you watch American Office?
No, I watched one episode of American Office, and it was just line for line identical to episode 1 of the British Office.
Ah, okay.
So I thought, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
So I just didn't bother.
You missed out big time. The first season is shit. The rest is so good.
I love that when someone tells you about like an incredible, like, oh, if you watched so-and-so, nah, it's like, well, listen, it's like 8 seasons long. The first 2, utter shit. But when you get to 3, amazing. Like, what, I'm going to spend like 15 hours of my life watching crap.
Can I now just skip to season 3?
Yeah. Oh, no, you can't do that because you need the build-up. You need all the build-up. It's
No, I
really
don't-
crap.
I don't want
you
the
have to
build-up.
power through.
I don't want the build-up. I want to dive straight in and waltz dealing meth everywhere. Like, I don't need any backstory to this. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
So,
Breaking Bad's the best one.
Breaking Bad is it's my favorite ever show.
But that's one where like I showed my wife the first episode, and then the body comes through the bathtub, and she's like, "Oh, this is too gross. I don't want to watch it."
That's exactly where my mum gave up as well. She said, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. Like, Mum, just persevere.
But
It's a great show.
Yeah, in lockdown, she was like, "I'm bored. I got nothing to do." I was like, "Have another go at Breaking Bad." Gets through the first episode, then spends literally the next 3 days watching. I think she completed the whole thing in like 3 days. Like she just didn't leave the sofa.
Wow. Lockdown was a weird time. So bored.
I'm glad I didn't have to train in lockdown. I wasn't still rowing. That sounds pretty brutal.
Yeah, hearing the stories of like the build up to Tokyo with having to. People said they enjoyed erging in their kitchen on the road. Like I couldn't think of anything worse.
Sometimes just for British athletes getting away from Caversham, we spend so much time there. Any change of scenery.
Yeah, like
Anyway.
that's why it's probably good that they don't build building flats there at Caversham.
Who were we talking to the other day about like what you do to like wind the time down on an ergo?
I think Matt Tarrant.
People were saying different things, and I said, I remember when Webby told me for like a 16k, I just count up to 50 and back down to 0. And I was like, you are a murderer. There is something wrong with you. How do you do that?
That's psychopathic.
Yeah, I would always sort of break things down into like sort of descending pyramids. I think that was quite common. So like a 16k erg, for example, I'd sort of treat the first K as a warm up, and then, okay, 5k, then 4k, then 3k, then 2k, then 1k. It's like, it's so boring, but we just do it.
You just create imaginary places like,
Honestly, just make an absolute belter of a playlist.
yeah.
Like that's the best way to get through anything.
But would you have it on shuffle or would you order it out exactly?
Ugh. For UT2, I'd probably just go shuffle.
Yeah.
I like the variety. I used to play this little game at Molesey where we just stick a playlist on shuffle and we just play intros around. Like who could guess?
You shout it out.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And you like score points throughout the erg.
I mean, I love your Spotify playlist. When I'm like a couple times the last 4 or 5 years, we're like really struggling, a bit bored of our own playlists. Pete will be like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Dave Bev, can I have some bangers with that mash? Get it on."
Yes. Oh, that's a great playlist.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's, can I get some mash with these bangers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I messed it up. I butchered it. I was sorry. But yeah, that playlist, we listened to
that was
quite a lot.
that was my erg playlist, and my weights playlist was called Donald Pump. Make Cambridge Swole again.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Yeah, good playlist is essential.
I heard a good game to play on an ergo is to play the Danger Shuffle, if you would.
Well, that was back when you had an iPod and you
Danger
could...
Shuffle.
Yeah.
Well, if you had an iPod, you could select your playlist or your albums or your artist, or you could just go to top and say shuffle all. That was the Danger Shuffle, and that meant like what? You had no idea what was coming up.
I kind of like that though. Like I've got some weird stuff in my my Spotify like just my liked songs, unsorted stuff. Like there's a few like Disney film classics, for example.
Yeah, but what if it like gets intertwined with Slipknot and Metallica?
Yes, if it bounces from Slipknot to Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast, like I can deal with that.
Yeah, you can, but the other people in the gym are going to give you shit.
Oh, to hell with them. Like if you give me the aux chord, like you embrace the randomness.
I think the best thing about having a playlist for erging is that you can have both Slipknot, Metallica, and Taylor Swift on it, all in one go.
I remember being in Lance Treadle was a big fan of rap music, and I remember being in Leander one time. He's doing an ergo. It's really loud. It's like 50 Cent or someone is like blasting out. I remember thinking to myself like, could that man like ever in his wildest dreams think that in the poshest rowing club in Britain, in the world, in one of the potentially whitest places you could get to, like he would? I just think like, obviously you could be like, oh, you know, people all around play your music, and he'd be like, that's awesome. But I was like, I don't even think he'd believe it. Like if he went up to him, it's like, no, they're smashing your music out in a rowing club in the UK. I think that would blow his mind. Like,
I think we should tell him that when we get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
50 Cent.
Yeah, if you're listening, yeah, come on. I like him. He's a good businessman. He speaks a lot of sense now he speaks a lot about like dealing with, I guess, like fame and success, which is quite
He's just really been through it all. So I guess he had the experiences that he could draw the valuable lessons from.
I like the quote he said his grandfather told him. He said, if it slithers like a snake and it hisses like a snake, it's a snake. Do you need it to bite you in order to know that it's a snake?
Yeah, I like that. I'm no expert on 50 Cent.
Are you not?
I mean,
No.
Are you more of a 50 pence kind of guy?
No, more of a 16,000 Vietnamese dong.
So what? So go on, give some 2K playlists or half-hour playlists. Like, what were some of the top songs for you?
Oh God. So I think my all-time sort of go-to for 2K ergs was Bangarang by Skrillex.
Oh
Yeah, just timeless like 2K erg banger. So
yeah, it's a good one.
yeah. Have you not made like a Rogue Gear like erg playlist?
We've got a few from when both Tom and I were rowing. We just need to like pull ourselves together and just put it.
Yeah, I need to put a channel on that, get it available. Yeah, so people can do it.
What we also like to do is one time we were servicing the ergs at Headington, and like, I mean, there was a group of like maybe 20 or 30 girls on those ergs, and they were just like all going like through like some UT2/UT1, and they had this incredible playlist. And I remember I had to like Shazam it and get it off them. And sometimes when we like need some like good erging music, like we definitely like use that Headington playlist. So,
Sometimes it's just something different, isn't it? You can get really bored of your own music. No, it's
good songs. It's the songs that I would choose for myself, which is like, that's what I
do. You have songs that you would save? So like Eminem Till I Collapse, like I won't listen to it any other time other than if I'm trying to like psych myself up for a 2K. Like I have to like not hear it anywhere else.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just sort of becomes too diluted.
Yeah. Or other songs that have been part of my 2K playlist for so long that when they now come on, get me like anxious and
We could
sweaty.
just try and make like the ultimate like 2K playlist in the comments. Like just put your favorite 2K banger in.
It's going to be so random. For me, like the further I got in my career, like the deeper I had to go to get a PB, the heavier the music. So like initially, like something like Skrillex would be like
Slap on like 22 by Taylor Swift.
I didn't mind a bit of Taylor Swift, but like by the end, it's like Slipknot and Metallica, yeah, and I needed something to like.
I think that's a great idea though from Dave. So like if you have like an erging song or a 2K song or anything that you like to listen to when you're working out, put it in the comments and we'll do like a massive Rogue Last Show Counts playlist.
Yeah. Just have like just like if you've got like an erg playlist, just put the link to it in the comments so we can see like what club is churning out the best bangers.
Oh yeah,
the ultimate erg playlist, the ultimate shuffle erg playlist. Because if you know everything's good in there, then you can shuffle it.
Imagine if we get it so big, it becomes the Danger Shuffle itself. Should we call it Danger Shuffle?
Well, it wouldn't be that danger if they were all bangers. It wouldn't be a danger. You could shuffle it, and it wouldn't.
Yeah, but so someone's gonna say, "Well, I love to listen to Shake It Off when I do a 2K." Not putting anyone down who doesn't listen to that.
Yeah, this is like personal preference.
Shake it off. That's the best recovery strategy. So
we should. We could have like a pop. You could change. You could have a few different ones.
Either sling into the DMs with your ideas or just drop them in the comments. Like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. I'll find them and I'll put them through.
Yeah, just straight into Pete's DMs. Everyone.
Last show counts, please. Not my personal ones. I've got enough of those coming in. I think we might be shortly running out of stories.
We're definitely not running out of stories.
No, not with Dave.
No,
there's
never.
always infinite stories.
There's more stories.
Which one are you alluding to? Come on, just spit it out.
Nat Champs.
Oh.
What happened when Banksy subbed in for you?
I want to set the record straight on that one. That wasn't me having Banksy on my card. So what was it Brit Champs 2000? No, Nat Champs as it's called back then. So I feel like because a lot of people viewing are probably a little bit sort of younger, might not remember ARA cards as they used to be called. So before British rowing cards came along, where you actually had to submit a picture and it got hard printed onto the card, you used to have ARA cards instead.
Yeah.
And
ARA standing for
Amateur Rowing Association.
Thank you.
So they'd give you like a little bit of cardboard in this sticky pack, and you had to put a passport photo of yourself onto your ARA card. You seal it shut, and that's how you are. That's now how you identify yourself.
How very trusting of them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's IDing yourself. Like you could just show your driving license instead; it would have the exact same effect.
Yeah.
Like there's no real need for it. And a lot of people kind of recognized this and thought, well, I'm just going to take a piss. I'm just going to put a silly picture on my ARA card, and when I get asked for ID if I win any races, I'm just going to show them my driving license. That's smart.
Yeah,
because it was funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like this ongoing running gag in the rowing community at the time, but we would not just me, pretty much everybody would just slap any old like ridiculous profile photo on their ARA card. I saw a picture of an email from a guy called Ian Desmond. He was emailing his squad that he managed at Henley Rowing Club. They just won some race, and when you win a race, you've got to show your ARA card. So he, obviously his athletes are taking the piss as well. He sends this email out saying, guys, look, please put actual photos of yourself on your ARA cards. I had a real difficult time at race control the other day after the Milo Regatta, trying to convince race control that my aides consisted of Fidel Castro, Mr. Blobby, Sonic the Hedgehog, because everybody did it. Yeah. Like everybody just took the piss with all this.
To start with, there was only like a couple of like the sort of jokers. Like I remember Josh Davidson was first, but then once Josh has gone to 2 regattas and handed his card in and no one gave a shit, then everyone else is like,
because he had Shep on his ARA, if I remember rightly.
Pete Shepherd, who was the head under 23 coach.
Yeah. So Brit Champs in 2008. I remember it was a sort of post our Henley Regatta campaign. We're up there. We're doing this under 23 4, and I'm also doing the under 23 single, and we make the finals in both. And I'm having a bit of trouble with my back at the time, so I could happily scull, but I wasn't particularly keen on sweep because I wasn't very good at rotating. I'm still not.
I mean, we also had done 0 training in R4. We were not fit enough. It was not. Yeah. I think we thought it was like, oh, it's half a Henley winning 8. Like it'll be fine, and it wasn't.
It definitely wasn't. Yeah. So basically, I went up and I said, "Can I get a medical exemption from the 4?" And we put a sub in because I can't really rotate. My back hurts. But then I tried. So we did that. We put a sub in. And
we also knew that like you actually had a realistic chance of doing something in your single.
Yeah.
And this 4 was like probably was going to break you.
Yeah. So I go to boat for the single, and one of the umpires pulls me aside and he says, "Mr. Bell, what are you doing? You're injured. You can't go and race." And I tried to explain to him, look, I can scull, but I can't sweep. But we started having a little bit of a debate about it on the landing stage, and they bring out the sort of head umpire of all this, and he says, "Mr. Bell, are you taking this regatta seriously?" Yeah. Why? What are you getting at? And he just shows me this picture of my ARA card. He's like, "Well, can you explain this then?" And he shows me my picture of the ARA card, which at the time had a picture of Captain Pugwash on it. Captain Pugwash was like this childhood cartoon character. He's like, you just sailed the 7 seas searching for booty.
A chubby pirate, basically.
Yeah, a chubby cartoon pirate. I don't know why. I just thought it'd be funny. Like we were all doing it. So obviously I get DQ'd for that one. But like everybody does it. Like it wasn't such a big deal at the time.
Yeah, we'd been to plenty of regattas where they weren't necessarily happy when they saw I didn't have your photo on, but as long as you turned up with your driving license, they didn't. They were like,
it was kind of like
away with it.
It was like a little bit of a running gag.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the thing is, I mean, that in and of itself wasn't really such a problem. Fast forward to the following season, I got in Banksy's bad books a little bit for a separate story, but but Banksy wasn't a huge fan of me at the time, and there was this sort of running gag in the squad that I was like his lost love child, for example. That I got that. Yeah, that's like this weird, because we were both northern, we were both a little bit on the short side. We're both there's a little hint of physical similarity there.
Oh, not so. It's like the absolute most tenuous link you could possibly do, but it's hilarious, so we run with it.
Yeah, we're both from the north.
Yeah.
So anyway, I knew I was in his bad books, and I knew this gag was going on. I don't know what got into me. It was a stupid idea, but I thought it'd be really funny for some 2009 summer pot hunting. I thought I would put Banksy on my RA card. And I go to Peterborough Regatta that year, and I win elite singles and elite doubles and elite quads. I've had like the best day. I'm like, big dog on campus, walking up, I'm going to go collect my pots, hand over this ARA card, and the guy just goes like silent, like he's pissed about this. So he takes this ARA card and he takes it to like the chairman of the regatta to kind of report it. Chairman of regatta comes out. It's the same guy as Brit Champs the last year. Like, oh no. So I got I got DQ'd from that, and they sent that card to British Rowing, Amateur Rowing Association, at the time, and I don't know what sort of variance of the story there'll be off that, but I got a £300 fine.
Really?
Yeah.
From who?
From British Rowing.
Wow.
They said, like, Dave, we've seen evidence of you sort of taking the mick with ARA cards. Everybody does it.
Yeah, I feel like you're the scapegoat. Like, they'd obviously, it's got to the point where they're doing it, they're getting pissed off, and it's just you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And got the bollock.
Yeah, I feel like somebody had to make an example of somebody, and they chose to make an example of me. So they said, look, you're not racing again until you pay this £300 fine. So I paid the fine and sort of, cracked on and started taking it a little bit more seriously. But the story doesn't actually stop there, because a few years later, I went for a night out with Al Sinclair and Henry Fieldman. And I won't kind of go off on a tangent about what happened on that night out, but long story short, I end up staying at Henry's that night, and his mum's sort of quite thankful for me sort of, looking out for those guys on the night out. She's making us breakfast in the morning, we start chatting, and she says, I tell her my name's Dave, and she says, are you Dave Bell? Yeah. Dave Bell, who we had to give the £300 fine to for having the photos on the ARA cards. And it was her who'd given me this fine.
She worked there. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But she was sort of on the team, but had decided to issue this fine. We had a laugh about it.
What did she say about it? Was it exactly that point? She said, "Oh, we needed to."
Yeah, we didn't really go into it in any meaningful depth. I mean, to be honest, I was dicking around. Somebody had to sort of be the scapegoat for that one.
When you get caught out and you were messing about, it's like, okay,
Yeah, what? I messed around, just give me the fine. Yeah, so we had a laugh about it.
But to give some examples, so you had a picture of Banksy, which is obviously funny, but Alistair Webb had the world's ugliest dog. Literally, it's like this Chinese crested mongrel hairless dog with no teeth. One eye's bulging out, and its tongue's just flopping out of his mouth. So in terms of you getting the fine, there's other people walking around with the world's ugliest dog as their photo.
Well, we'd sort of taken we'd upset a fair few people at Brit Champs that year. I'd sort of been dicking around with the ARA card. Everybody was, the whole squad. Was. But what I think really maybe put the umpires sort of on a bit of an anti-Leander warpath that year was the Open 8s final. Because remember, we'd won pretty much every senior event that day. Yeah. And I think it was Clive and James Orme had some gold medals from the Coxed 4 earlier that day. Oh, and then they go and win the 8 by 100 meters or something like that. And then they stand up as middle pair in this 8. Whoever was at 4 just turns around. They shake hands. One of them bows, and they put this medal over the other one's neck. And they're trying to do this before any of the other crews have finished. Oh. And it went. Don't get me wrong. It was funny to watch, but it pissed a lot of people off.
I will say this though: it's from the outside, you look at that and you think the arrogance, the arrogance of them. This ridiculous, they're taking the piss. But what you realise if you row at Leander long enough. Is enough people treat you, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. If enough people treat you like you're an arsehole and you don't care and they won't look at you, or they're pissed off at you, or we used to turn up at regattas, and I remember we went ahead of the Trent one year, and the umpire that comes to check the foot stretchers breaks every foot stretcher. Just literally grabs the shoe and just bang! Yeah. Bang! Physically snaps every foot stretcher, gets to the end of the boat and goes, you need new foot stretchers. And if you get treated like that long enough, you will end up playing the game and be if you're going to treat me like I don't give a shit, then what happens is you actually start turning around and acting like a bit of an arsehole. Yeah. So I would say that's the other side of it, that there's times if everyone's going to sit here and be a prick to us. Okay, fine.
What's the problem with the Leander athletes that much? I mean, okay, I remember when I was first coming down to Leander, when I first told my parents that I was going to kind of, be relocating to Henley and joining this fairly, high performance elite rowing centre. They were very worried that I'd just be training with a load of, elitist toffs who don't really accept me and I'm going to kind of be excluded and all that. None of that materialized at all. Like completely, not misguided, because obviously it was well-meaning, but none of that happened. But like, I can see why the outside world might have a little bit of a thing against elite level rowers, but Leander specifically, like, is it? I think you're right. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you treat Leander athletes badly, they're going to start doing dickish stuff.
As well, I can see like the theory being that, for example, when Leander got banned from the club level of events, this was saying that the problem with Leander is it's such a great setup. It has such a sort of a history, and it attracts such great athletes that, unfortunately, they can take athletes from nowhere to above club level in a year. So technically, because they haven't raced at a higher level, they are eligible for club level events, but they are above the standard of club level events. Which I can kind of see that side of the argument. And they really didn't help themselves in 2007 when they had a bunch of fantastic guys who just happened to have not won Henley yet. Some guys who'd done under 23s, and they went out there in 2007 and they absolutely destroyed the
like I can definitely see why it might be a little unpopular for them to be in the club events when you're essentially devoting your whole life to training. But that's not massively uncommon. There are other clubs out there that train in a similar way. But, you talk about the head of the Trent with the guy like essentially just trying to rip the footplate out of the boat, like completely unrealistic. And I remember the exact same thing happening to us. I think it was at Marlow in 2008. We had the exact same thing. The umpire was just going through and was just pulling as hard on the shoes as they could until the thing snapped. It happens a lot. It's just such a dick move. And I think,
why the hell would you do that?
Much hostility.
It's jealousy, isn't it? And like you said, like we weren't. Yes, you have benefits from training at Leander, but it's a two-way street. You give up your life. You live in a 3-bedroom house with 5 guys. You get a shit job that pays sod all, so that you can commit to it, and like that's the sacrifice that you've made.
Yeah, we're speaking to someone the other day who were like, oh yeah, all the club rowers, they say like, we're the real rowers because we have to have full-time jobs, it's so much harder for us, etc., etc. Like, these guys are giving up everything in order to be here. So like,
not everyone can.
But what's
the point of giving them stick?
About that is what actually, when you say like a proper job or a full-time job, like what do they mean by that exactly? Like, so you get like quite a lot of clubs will do 2-session days. So you'll have a lot of clubs where people will go down and they'll do a session at 6 a.m. and then people will go to work and they'll come back in the evening and they'll do a second session. And that's generally what you would consider a proper job. But for example, if you go down and train at say 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. and then you go and work 12 till 8, for example.
Like the cinema job, yeah.
Yeah, like the cinema job, for example. If you're going to say a proper job is based on the number of hours you work, then you working at the cinema and me working at Starbucks, technically that's a proper job because we were basically doing full-time hours still. We just work into the evenings rather than typical 9 to 5.
Yeah, I understand that. On the flip side, I also agree. I quite like when they changed the rules in the Thames Cup. You were allowed a couple of returners. That was like a kind of a rule that allowed clubs to not have a drain of all their athletes if they did manage to win, say the Brit Wifield one year, like those things. And I like, it is nice to have a place for like club athletes to win. And I will say, like, hats off to like, this year I did home countries with Wales. I had a couple of the Thames boys, like little them, they fucking full-time 9 to 5 or, even maybe like, 8:30 till 6:30, full-time jobs.
Yeah.
They're fitting the training around. They're working their bollocks off. And they're coming to win the Thames Cup. I'm like, yeah, fair play. Like, that's awesome.
What it comes down to is just people sitting down and like thinking that other situations aren't as like others are in better circumstances than you think they are. Like Tim Foster even spoke about this, like looking at athletes internationally, thinking like, oh, the Australians have it easy, or oh, the Italians have it easy, and then you like actually get to mix in with these people and speak to them, and like you're all going through struggles. You all have to like juggle different things in your life, etc. So it's just looking through kind of like rose-tinted spectacles at others and expecting them to have it easier than you because the grass is, as we know, always greener on the other side.
I think there's unfortunately, like Henley Regatta is a victim of its own success. It is so popular worldwide now that unfortunately it's full of world-class athletes from all different countries coming down, and that's made that there's a lot less clubs in the UK who have a chance of winning it or doing well or even qualifying. It's not the fault of anyone else other than the fact that the event has just got worldwide fame.
Yeah. Like, it's interesting. I'm really impressed with what's happening at Thames at the minute. I think they've won like 10 Henley Regatta wins in the last 4 years.
Amazing.
Something like that. It's unbelievable. And the thing is, obviously, when you win, you're not allowed to have any returners there. If you've won the event, so you lose a lot of your athletes, and you've got to have so much new intake coming in. You can't just have a crew that is largely the same as last year. So yet they have this quite high athlete turnover, but they still just keep churning out so many Henley medals. I don't know what they're doing there, but it's
a big club. I mean, we were talking with Ben Lewis. He was sort of saying that they were really struggling for a really long time, and they said, let's look at some clubs that do it well. And they said Leander does it well, so they went to Leander and said, how are you making it work? And Leander said, well, look, you've got space to make a restaurant. We have a restaurant in our club that generates income that gets posted into rowing, sort of a rolling thing.
Yeah, and then another thing is like Ben Lewis said that when he started coaching there, they'd turn up in October and start the season, and he's like, no, we start on the 1st of September, and then we bumped into Dan Boddington. I'm pretty sure we've told this already, but we were like, well, so what are you doing? And he's like, do you know what, like, these guys, they train fucking hard at Thames, and that's why we're so fast. It's like, that's what you got to do. There's no real secret, just pull hard.
That's what I always found with Cambridge. I don't think the training program there was anything particularly revolutionary. It was a good, well-written program, but it was largely, lots of UT2, lots of UT1, few sort of high performance, sort of, more sort of high rate race style pieces. Standard stuff that pretty much everybody does. But what they did very well that I think other clubs might be able to learn from is how they just create this sort of culture where the training has to be very effective. Everybody's trying to make every single session count, for example. Like, you look at a UT2 erg, it's very easy for squads to just rock up, do the UT2 erg at whatever split they think's about right on the day. They don't even put their force curves on, they're just looking at the split, they're out of time, they're starting at different times. Whereas you look at like the UT2 ergs at Cambridge, for example, there are linked up RP3s, we've got our force curves programmed in, we know exactly what splits we're going to hit because we've already done the step test. We're training to heart rate zones. Like, yeah, it's a sub-maximal session, but we're still we're squeezing so much out of it. It doesn't have to be as hard as it can possibly be, but we're all rowing the same length, we're all rowing the same force curve, we're all generating the same impulse, we're all in time. Like, that stuff adds up. You've just got to make every session count.
Did you do a lot of training on the RP3? I've never used it, really.
Also,
I like it.
What I liked most about the RP3 was the ability to link them up.
Yeah.
In a way that doesn't really work as well with sliders.
Yeah.
But we'd have like 8 linked up RP3s, for example. When you've got 8 guys on 8 linked up RP3s, you've got your handles are sort of connected. Your RP3s are connected. There's a big sort of bar down the middle, so you've got sort of 4 rows of 2 all connected.
Nice.
Yeah. You're all just building one impulse, and it's a subtle difference.
I love that. And then you have to do this because the season, like you said, is so condensed. You have like 6 to 7 months of effective training, so you really have to be on the ball with every session.
Yeah.
Especially because you're training against your opposition who's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You can't be that revolutionary with training programs.
Yeah, like in an 8, you want to have like a consistent force profile throughout the stroke. And if some people have got a very leg-driven stroke, some people are really kind of back-ending it, sort of drawing up to their neck, for example, you can get away with that when you're on a load of separate individual ergs. But if you're actually trying to build one very effective, consistent, like cohesive stroke, you've got to spend a lot more time doing that. You want to do that off the water as well as on it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You gotta train how you race, and you gotta erg how you row.
I like the analogy that it's sort of like water flowing. Enough water flows in the same direction, it'll create a groove in the rock, and then that's the only way that the water's going to flow. And that's sort of what you're doing. If you can just ingrain this single movement, and just get deeper and deeper and more set in your brain. Yeah,
what I like about the RP3s is the ability to program in a force curve.
That's nice. Yeah.
On them, so you can say like, you kind of go up to athletes and say you're going to row this length, your max force in newtons is going to be this high. I want the peak of it to be this percentage of the way through the stroke, and everybody's building the same force curves, not just rowing in time. That stuff really adds up when you're doing a lot of ergs.
I mean, I will say, talking about impressions of different clubs and stuff, like you said, we've said with Leander, you start getting treating a certain way, then you end up acting that way, and you basically in rowing, you're going to attach yourself to anything you can give yourself a benefit for. So I can understand why Thames are like, we're the working man's club, fuck Leander. It doesn't mean they hate Leander. It doesn't really. It's just like, here's something that we feel we get a mental advantage on, something that we can really use in the tough sessions. Like, there's no one else fucking, working 60-hour weeks and like getting down here and getting the fucking job done. Like, of course, if I could use that power, like I would use it. I have like I have no like ill will to anyone who feels that way. But the problem is, then other people who aren't in that system kind of hear that and then run with it and like, oh, this club hates this club.
Well, what you need, what you need is context to the situation and why you're doing it.
I mean, Stevie Trapmore once said to me, this was back at Cambridge, he said, the best way to unify a team is against a common enemy.
Yeah, there you go.
And there was very much a sort of, a very anti-Oxford sentiment, like Oxford ain't doing this. They'd put up like, show you pictures of your opposite man, for example. And they very much had that at Molesey when I was there as well. At Molesey, there was a very much an anti-Leander sentiment. I remember you'd go to these annual dinners, and I won't like say who the speaker was, but he's standing up in his chair and he's just shouting, fuck Leander, and it's quite hard not to feel a little bit sucked into it.
It's nothing to do with Leander.
Yeah.
It's just a
like
common enemy.
I held no, I know I was there and then went to other clubs that sort of, compete with Leander. I have no issue with Leander. I have no beef with them. Like it's a great club. I really enjoyed my time there. But they say this stuff. There's this sort of fuck Leander sentiment. I don't think they have any beef with Leander. They're just trying to rile up and unify their own squads.
Yeah. Then what's interesting is like, obviously you never see people that are doing better than you do this kind of stuff. So it's like, well, if you have to like start screaming like fuck this, fuck that, etc., like doesn't that just kind of like show your position in the pecking order?
Yeah, from if you're at Leander, if you hear that other clubs are like making you the one to beat, like take power in that as well. Then the opposite is like, cool, they're so pissed off with us, like that we're the one with the target on our back.
Yeah.
So like I always thought, like the weird one I always thought was like when Oxford did FTT. And like for me, like that falls under never give your enemy any more reason to beat you. Like if you're going to start
14, right?
Yeah. Well, is that where it originally started, or presumably it's always?
I think FTT means fuck the tabs.
Yeah,
obviously, but
tab being a slang for a Canterbridgian.
Yeah. But yeah, I think when the cameras are rolling and they've got to kind of be quite serious, it's for the team.
But then I remember going into the team with like Fred Gill and like seeing that the Cambridge lot have made like FTT shirts and stuff as well. Like for me, like straight away, I'd be like, if I was coaching Oxford and our new catchphrase is going to be FTT, I'd be like, no, it is not, because as soon as Cambridge hear that, they're going to be like, oh, it's on. Like you've just given me more reason to hate you.
Yeah,
but there is a Cambridge equivalent. I see it with some of the other sports clubs in Cambridge. They just have FO, which let you deduce what that stands for. But I don't like that. I think it's pretty lowbrow. Like I actually really like GDBO.
Okay, what's that?
That's gosh darn bloody Oxford.
That's such a good response.
That's the Cambridge equivalent. It's so much more well mannered.
Yeah,
because obviously there's this rivalry between Cambridge and Oxford, right? But I think it was Jim Letton who said it in 2018. It's a rivalry that should be predicated on like a mutual respect.
Yeah.
You're both studying hard, you're both training hard, you're both kind of, really getting after it for a few months. Somebody's got to lose, but you don't be a dick about it. I like gosh darn bloody Oxford. There's a rivalry, but like it's not hostile or aggressive.
Such a Cambridge thing to say.
We did it.
Bloody Oxford.
Colleton, a 1 year at Leander got us.
Colleton's
printed off each an American crew for each of us, which we would stick underneath the monitor every ergo for a year. And like I like kind of fostering that rivalry kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like I will hate you, and I will think about standing on your foot underneath my foot stretcher, you know, and I will want to do everything to beat you, but I'll finish that race and I'll go and shake your hand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really interested in telling you to fuck off. Like, and at the end of the day, I think rowing, like, you win on the rowing race, you don't have to. That's the whole point. I don't need to swear at you. I don't need to shout at you. I don't need to punch you. I'll fucking beat you.
That's funny when you showed me that video of Harvard ladies play with beating you in the final in, I think, 2012. And literally, they didn't even celebrate. They just turned their heads at the losing crew at the end and just started pointing fingers and saying this, saying that.
And there is a bit of a background story to that. So that's because in 2011 in the semi-final, we beat them in the semi-final, and we had Ben Duggan rowing in our boat, had rowed at Brown, and had had some humdiggers with Harvard, had never beat them. So when we crossed the finish line, Ben Duggan points over and screams redemption. He got pulled up by Henley. He got pulled up into the steward's offices and saying, you don't bloody act like that. So then, we then lost to the Germans in the final. Then the next year we meet Harvard in the final and they beat us by a foot on the finish line. And 2 or 3 of those boys decided to do it back, to shout, scream. And
no, was Duggan in the crew?
No.
Okay.
Duggan wasn't in the crew anymore. It was pretty tasteless. I mean, if you watch, like literally I showed Pete the other day and I was like, look, okay, you know, we're not always proud of how we act in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much what we were talking about. It was a very tasteless way to win. You've won by a foot. You don't really need to scream and shout and point and swear at us.
Yeah.
Plus, 2 of the athletes in that crew were then staying in my house for the next week before we went to...
Oh, yeah, of course, under 23s.
Yeah, so I had Andy Holmes and Pat Lepage. But I don't think Pat did, but Andy Holmes was one of the ones that screamed. And I was sort of like, I'm letting you stay in my house. I hold nothing to them now. It's fine.
Yeah.
At the time.
If you want to kind of get really riled up and use that to motivate you, like, absolutely fine. But leave it in your gym, leave it in your boathouse.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a dick on the finish line.
We've all, but then
especially once you've won.
We've all crossed the finish line, and there's so much emotion in you. It's difficult at times.
Yeah,
and I
like,
hold nothing against them now.
I certainly can't. I can't put my hands up and say I've never done anything stupid. I've done plenty of stupid shit in my rowing career. So probably upset a few people along the way. But like as you kind of grow up and you get a little bit older and wiser, you realize like, okay, maybe I should kind of shelve that behavior.
I mean, I think that was the only time where I haven't shook hands at the end as well. That Harvard weren't interested in. I think we went in and they were like, nah, they didn't want to shake hands. Yeah. But then I guess you could say that year before, Ben screaming and shouting at them, clearly they've used that as a motivating factor for the whole year. They've then beat us by a foot on the line.
Yeah.
Of course, they're probably going to, that could be what made them win. Without him, maybe if he hadn't shouted at them the year before, maybe
but don't give them any fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are you happy because you've won, or are you happy because you've not lost to the crew that you hate? That's the difference.
It's just being Leander, isn't it? Like you said, you can take some pride in the fact that a club feels it's that incredible to get one over on you when you're rowing in a good club. So
that's true.
That's what it is.
You're going to come back out of retirement?
I don't know. I would feel like
you talk about it like it's just. I kind of get this sense from how you talk that you're just really like itching to have one more go.
No,
it just feels like there's too many variables for like the ladies play 8. Like I can't. It's uncontrollable. I can't control the other 8 people in the boat and the cops. I can't control how good the boat will be when it comes over. If an American crew comes over, it could just be a fantastic year. Like I've never lost to the same crew. It's always been one Harvard crew we lost to that was amazing. One Brown crew, one Cow crew, one German crew.
Plus, like Henley Regatta it has so many. Did he even come to Henley Regatta this year?
No, I was on holiday.
You missed some great fun nights out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely come next year.
We have to.
Yeah.
We're talking about making some blazers.
Yeah, we don't. Neither of us have. I think we'll make a row gear blazer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good for.
I just remember our Henley campaign, like going right back to 2008. Just basically me having to stay round yours in your living room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was living on Lever Road at the time, I think it was called. And yeah,
I used to live on Lever Road.
I think everybody used to live on Lever Road. Henley's a small place.
Oh, yeah, no. He lived in the house next door to your old house at Levers Road.
24.
Wait, the one that was conjoined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
What number was you?
I was 27.
I was 25.
What the hell?
I think it was next door.
That is next. Well, obviously it's next door.
Basically next door.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Neighbor from a different era.
Yeah.
Nice. Anyway.
When you lived there, was Caroline living next door, wasn't she? Yeah, so you lived in Caroline's house.
No.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Small world.
Yeah, because I was living with Tom Cannon at the time, and he was in the Henley rowing Club 8, and obviously Henley had a Thames Cup crew as well, and we thought, well, okay, you could live together, but if Henley were to get knocked out before us, and then they start going out on the sesh really hard, then I can't stay in my own house because it's going to disrupt our campaign. So we took my mattress into your living room, and basically your living room was just my bedroom for a week. It was great.
Yeah, it was good
Little
fun.
slumber party. Sticking on every film under the sun to motivate ourselves all week.
Webby forcing us to watch the Dam Busters before we raced the Germans.
Was it Friday versus Hamburg RC? Like, okay, we're going to go watch Dam Busters. I was so fired up. Something about seeing that barrel bomb just go and hit that dam just fired me up so much for that 2K race. I don't know how to describe it, but
that was a fantastic race. That was a race where I felt like we, tactically, I feel like, if we raced it 10 times, we might have lost more than we won. Yeah. But on the day, we just choked them. We got out hard. We got ahead. We just kept them behind us. Every move they tried, Chrissy kept us there, and we just choked them out until they had nothing left.
I remember, because we had obviously lost to Tideway Scullers, who raced in the final at Marlow before, and then turned it round on the Sunday. But I feel like that race against Hamburg probably just gave us that sort of extra little layer of belief as to what we could do. Because we'd raced City of Bristol B on the Wednesday and then Thames Tradesman on the Thursday. So we hadn't really been tested all week. No offence to those clubs, but it was
different levels.
It was different levels. And then we come up against Hamburg, who was like a proper test. Realistically, the only real test we got.
They had under 23 athletes in that crew,
Yeah. And I just remember just being down, and then we had that sort of double push that we used to do in the middle, where we'd do this 10-stroke push, and then off the back of that, we'd do an even higher rate additional 10-stroke push, just to try and just blow the field apart. I just remember Ray Poulter just screaming, "For England!" at the top of his lungs in the middle of this race, and banging it up to 43 for 10 strokes. And it just blew the race apart. And we just went from down, just sliced through them, and just stayed there, and that was it. Game, set, and match.
Absolutely. Like a knife through butter.
It just choked them out.
And they were so close. They put their push in early, and we stayed ahead, and then they just exploded in. It was 3/4 of a length with maybe 10, 15 strokes to go. And then in the finish line, it was 4 lengths. They literally just implode. They were it's over.
Yeah.
Heads turning it's not happening. That was a good one.
I wish they had the coverage back then. Instead, they had Row TV.
It's just the final sort of 10, 15 strokes, isn't it?
Yeah. The coverage now, so good.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Ray Poulter, fantastic stroke man. Just had no care for his own physical welfare, or just happily put himself in a place no one else would.
Yeah, that's what you need from a stroke man.
Yeah. I still remember that because that week, rather than do crew mains, because everybody was racing at different times, they just had this massive buffet available all the time. And as a recovery snack, after I think the City of Bristol race, Ray had 9 slices of cheesecake. Ray, for fuck's sake. Brian's losing his shit. It's so easily done. I remember one of the things they said to us at Cambridge, Rich Chambers was quite big on this. He said, don't just start eating everything. You need to eat less food during taper weeks. You forget that if you're going out and doing an 8K tech, you don't need 2 fry-ups per day, for example. And we've done a 4K pre-row and then a fairly chilled 2K race, and Ray's just boshing 9 slices of cheesecake. You don't do that.
I remember under 23s one year, my last year, so 2011, we it was a little bit heavy. I'd been sitting 97 kilos maybe, and we flew. And then when you fly, your weight goes up.
Yeah.
And they were taking our weight every day, and I was 101, 102. It's really heavy. And everyone else was coming down, and mine wasn't coming down. And Belhash came to me and was like, listen, you need to still weighing pretty heavy. You need to check yourself. So I was this was after morning sessions. I was okay, cool. I could just skip lunch. I'll skip lunch, and I just won't eat again till dinner. We got another session.
I'll just skip a meal, no worries.
Yeah, 4 kilos.
By the time we got to the afternoon, I was like down the river about ready to go on an outing. I was like, I'm so hungry. Like as a heavyweight rower, like I'd never, ever like monitored my intake. I just always eaten whatever I want. And I was like literally just like struggling. I was like, I feel dizzy. I'm so hungry. Like George Rossiter had to give me an energy gel. I was like, this is the last time.
like,
this is the last time I ever skip a meal ever. I can't do it.
Yeah, just crack out the break in case of emergency gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had many of those as a cyclist. Like,
It's just that was the moment. If I hadn't thought it before, that was the moment. I was like, I would never be a lightweight. Like my whole rowing career, like consists on me being able to eat everything, and that's it.
I do have so much respect for lightweights.
Yeah.
Just the sheer amount of discipline. I do sometimes kind of worry a little bit about it because I do feel like some people who really shouldn't be lightweights just put themselves like through hell to become lightweights. Like, you know, people who are just that little bit too, they're on the small end of heavyweight.
Yeah.
So they actively starve themselves to make lightweight.
They're really strict there.
By like the images of a guy called Ali Douglas at Molesey who would naturally sit on like low 80s, but he'd just shovel down like just bowl after bowl of sugar-free jelly. So he'd fill himself up, taking no calories to try and get down 70 kilos.
Yeah.
It's not good for you.
Right, they're a lot more strict.
Chalky milk, mate.
They're a lot more strict in the squad now about lightweight athletes. They weigh in multiple times throughout the year, and they monitor their weight, and they're not allowed to lose significant amounts. Like they're getting a lot more strict on it, which is good. I mean, the other thing about lightweight for the women for a long time, but now for the men as well, there's only 2 seats.
Yeah.
There's 2 seats in the Olympics, so you have to be the best 2. Like as a heavyweight man, it's like top 14. I'm never going to be the best in the country, but there's a chance I might make top 14.
Yeah.
But like top 2.
Like, fuck, it's tight.
Yeah.
Tight out there. Like, and the thing is, I guess realistically, that must almost feel like it closes a door for a lot of lightweight athletes. Like, I know quite a few sort of quite talented lightweight women who I think, you know, have sort of dabbled with the idea of trying to get into the squad. But you look at how strong the GB women's lightweight.
Emily and Imogen,
yeah, it's like. You're not displacing either of those two. Like those two are absolutely turbo. It almost makes you think, well, what's the point of even trying?
I told the story before as well, I'm sure, but I was at Caversham about 2 weeks after Tokyo Olympics, fixing some gear down there, and Emily Craig's going out in a single. I was watching her get a single out and go out, and I was like, said to Morris, I was like, did she like race the Olympic final like 11 days ago? He was like, yeah.
On holiday.
I was like, okay.
Imogen Grant is probably the most sort of all-round impressive athlete and person I know.
Yeah.
Like the first time I ever met Imogen was sort of pre-season at Cambridge, sort of pre-season at Cambridge. So a guy called Patrick Elwood, his then girlfriend Hannah, and Imogen, they're going for a bike ride. Just Tuesday evening, jolly couple of hours just around Cambridgeshire, and they said, you know, do you want to come along, Dave? And I thought, okay, yeah, sure thing. I'll go along for that. I'll go along just to start kind of getting to know people, you know, do a little bit of training. And although it was just a jolly ride, I got to about 10 miles to go, and I thought to myself, right, you know, it's time to assert my dominance and like, you know, blow this wide open. And I just go for home, like 10 miles out, just like, you know, bite the handlebar, head down blaze, and just absolutely gassing it. And really quickly, like, you know, start like dropping Patrick and Hannah. I look up, like after like, you know, 10, 15 minutes or whatever, I look up and Imogen's there just like curled up in a ball, like holding onto my back wheel, like nothing else. I've been going hard for a long time. She just stays with me. No issues at all. Like, she's such a weapon on the bike.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't know that. Like, I think, so earlier this year, she just went off and did the Bucks team time trial cycling championship. I just won that. Just take a quick weekend off rowing and just go win a Bucks gold medal in
Career
the
change.
sports.
Was
Hamish Bond.
Yeah, Hamish Bond did it, didn't he?
Jason Osborne.
Yeah.
He's probably the best example of it. So, do you know Jason Osborne?
No.
Stroked the German lightweight double in Tokyo. Lightweight, I think, goes sub-6. Just too good.
Whoa.
I know. Nuts.
Isn't that world record? Must be, surely.
And there's a few that have done it, but maybe three or four guys I think have done it.
That's basically on the grand scheme of things. Fuck all people have ever gone sub-6 if they were like
of 8 billion.
Lightweight.
Yeah.
That's bonkers.
What rate do you have to pull?
Oh, God knows. But so he did the so he was a bit of a demon at Swift, which we spoke a little about Swift. It's basically like cycling meets World of Warcraft. So they had the national Zwift championships for Germany. He just boshes these out and just wins them.
Nice.
Because he does quite a lot of cross training on the bike. So he gets sent as a German representative to the World Zwift Championships, and this isn't just a bunch of like hobbyists. There's actual like genuine World Tour pros doing this race, and he just murders all of them.
Whoa!
Like he goes and just wins the World Zwift Championships.
He won the whole thing.
He won the whole thing, but not only that, he'd taken his turbo trainer out on a rowing training camp. So he'd been out doing an outing that morning and then had just set his turbo trainer up in this gym and just did the World Zwift Championship as a second session.
No.
And just still goes and wins the whole thing.
So he's got a professional contract off the back of that or something?
Yeah, he's got a professional contract. So I think he rides for Alpecin Phoenix these days. Yeah, so... Yeah, rowers switching into cycling. Like Hamish Bond did absolutely incredible, but I feel like Jason Osborne's story is like that little bit more insane.
Well, that's the other thing about the America's Cup guys. So Matt Gottrell, Harry Leask, and Matt Roster, who've gone to the America's Cup stuff. So that it used to be arm cranking, but they now with the hydraulic, it's a bike pedal crank basically. Okay. So they're essentially saying you're incredibly fit athletes from a rowing background. We'll teach you, as far as I'm aware, teach you the rules of how it goes, and we'll use you. So yeah, the crossover from rowing to cycling has been quite a big one.
Sign me up.
Yeah, please. Yeah. They pay a decent amount of money. Talking about cycling, Harry Leask, we went a couple of years after I finished at Leander. I was down fixing the row machines, and I still knew a few of the guys that were training there. They're saying, "Oh, we're going on a bike ride tomorrow. You should come. Come on the bike ride. Come on." I was like, "Yeah, all right, fine. I'll have it. You boys have been training hard. I've done nothing. I'm sure I can keep up." Go off on this bike ride, and I'm like working pretty hard to keep up, to stay up with everyone. And then as we get to what I think is the end of the ride we used to do 3 or 4 years ago, a few of us like gotta send it, get off out the front, like absolutely like going for it. I'm quite a good wind shadow on a bike.
yeah, you
as
are,
you can imagine.
Yeah, big old boy.
Yeah. So there's a few boys hanging on behind me, and then I'm thinking, right, we just go straight down Pish Hill. Boom, we're back into Henley. And then all of a sudden the boys like, no, we turn up here. We do like another 30 minutes. And I was like, I've drained myself thinking that I'm home in 5 and we're still going. And I think Harry Leask saw the look on my face and was like, get on my wheel.
Oh, there's nothing worse than blowing on a bike.
I just hung on to him for dear life on the back. And I have big respect for him. Because I'm like this, I'm 2 years out of the senior team. I'm supposed to be quite should have been fit, how strong. He's quite new into the team, but he still was just like, we talk about no barriers, doesn't matter who you are, like someone struggling, like get on the wheel.
That's one of the things I always liked about cycling is that the faster you're going, the bigger the wind shadow is. So if you're just sat behind someone, if you're going pretty fast and you're sat in their wind shadow, you can put out 40% less watts.
Wow.
Yeah, like, and that grows as the speed increases.
Wow.
So if you're really blowing, just tuck in behind someone big and just hold on for dear life.
Well, this is probably what Imogen did to you.
Maybe, but I can imagine she'd be a phenom anyway. She was probably planning to drop me in like the final 2 games.
Probably.
Yeah.
I love to see. I see the post when she was like she had to do a shift up at the hospital or whatever and needed to do a session. So just like on her lunch break, like pulls the ergo out of the car in the hospital car park and like gets a session in. It's like, I can't imagine the looks you would get in a hospital car. Like, people would just be like, what the fuck are you doing?
You should just get it done. Would go down to Ely, really early every day. You're on the 5:30 train or whatever it was, boshing out, 20k in the 8 at, say, 6 in the morning. Then we'll just hop on the train, get to, I think, Newmarket or wherever she was working at the time, 12-hour shift at the hospital, train back to Cambridge, in the gym at 7:30, 8 at night, just boshing out big weights. Like I've seen her straight deadlifting over 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lightweight.
Yeah, strong.
Women's lightweight, 55.
Yeah.
57 and a half, I think.
I'm sorry. I have no intention of trying. But
to cut both your legs off.
Yeah. And we're just could get an unbelievable amount of productivity out of every day. Yeah. So much good training, big shifts on the hospital. Like it was incredible to watch.
It's doing that and and being able to look after yourself and not get ill and be consistent.
And do something as stressful as being a doctor. But yeah, like
Imagine managing your nutrition through that as well.
yeah.
Because I'd just be, ringing up Domino's like twice a
Yeah.
day in both circumstances. But
Not when
to
you're
actually,
lightweight.
yeah, not when you're like, how do you have the energy to do that as a lightweight?
Well, hospital food ain't the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd love to have her on. I'd love to. We'll see how everyone does. We definitely got a few of the people who'll be racing at senior worlds this year sort of lined up, but it'd be nice.
I think COVID's, sorry to, bit of a side twist here, but like, I think COVID's like really changed training because it's like so easy to just pull out an ergo and just do it anywhere. Like, but even before Alex Partridge said that he just, in the middle of a drive or commute or something, he would just pull out his ergo, just do a 9K half hour, just get back in the car and just drive on. Yeah, I know, it's absolutely.
He was driving down to like Cornwall or somewhere, and so he stopped like in a car park on the Bodmin Moors and just knocked out a half hour, and it was feeling good, so just sent it and got 9K and then put it
In
back
some random roadside car park.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like we are rowers. Like this is so
Yeah.
strange.
Absolutely insane.
Just such a weird bunch.
Yeah, but we'll definitely get Imogen on and Emily, or at least we'll try to.
If they're keen, if they're listening, we'd love to have you guys at some point.
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of respect for that double that's going with those two.
Well, we talked about this the other day. We're like, I really want them to win it.
Yeah,
I want them to.
like I saw them break world best time in Varese, and I thought, oh my god.
Wait, was that this year?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it broke world best time that year.
Yeah.
From the results from Tokyo, you're just like, that's the one I want.
Yeah,
I mean, I want it for everyone, but like, you're just like, yeah. We'll see. It's looking good. It's looking good for Worlds. We'll do a rundown. Maybe we'll have you back and do a Worlds rundown.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
We'll get the international rowing expert, Mr. Dave Bell, back on.
I mean, gentle reminder that I am retired. Like,
I mean, this is, if you come for up-to-date and accurate rowing news, this is the wrong place for it. That's not what we do.
yeah.
We will chat a bit
You
about
want
what's
some like
going on.
vaguely factually sort of ballpark correct figures and opinions, and me reminiscing about back when I was leaner and had more hair. Then yeah, I'm definitely the guest for you.
But if you're interested in bro science through the roof, it's just this is the place for you.
yeah.
Full of bro science right there.
Yeah. How to if you want like in-depth analysis as to how to retire from rowing, just take up a new like beach weights lifestyle. I'm the guy. So, but
Awesome. We'll attach an email at the bottom of the description.
Yeah. Hit up Dave for bro science weights routines.
yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Well, it's been well fun, man. It's been good to just have a good chat and reminisce about the good times. Fun times.
Yeah. No, I've enjoyed it. Like it's one of the good things about this sport, isn't it? Like you might not necessarily see somebody all the time, but how you can just sit down and just reminisce, just chat rubbish for, I don't know how long we've been going for. Is it dark yet? I'm not sure. But
straight back into it. I mean, I don't know I don't think I have told this one on the podcast, and we can cut it out if it's not a funny story. I think I've said it to you, isn't it? That time I came, Webby invited me for New Year's Eve at Walton, when you were living down in Walton, and I hadn't seen either of you for a really long time. And I turned up at the door, I rang the doorbell, and Webby just opens the door. It's like, oh, all right, Mouse, come in. And I come in, and like near the front door is like a downstairs toilet. Mm-hmm. And you just come out the downstairs toilet. And I didn't even know if you knew you were coming. You literally just like, without breaking your stride, just came out of the toilet, went, oh, all right, Mouse. Webby, I cannot piss that shit stain off the toilet. And I've been trying for weeks. And Webby goes, yeah, I know, I can't get it either. And then you went, yeah, but like, I don't want to use a bog brush, it's cheating. And then just like walked upstairs. And I was like, we're back. It's 2A Watlington Street. It's like we never left.
nothing ever changed.
Yeah.
Nothing ever changed.
Oh no, that's absolutely brilliant. Thanks so much, Dave, for coming on again. And Tom and I are hoping like at some point like we're gonna have you as a recurring guest and just bring out some of the fun chit chat stories and talk some sense about rowing, but also be a bit
next time we'll get someone else on as well. We've got more mics. Let's do the panel.
No, I'm always happy to come, chat some rubbish with you boys.
Awesome.
It's great fun, like watching your beards develop. Majestic pieces of artwork that they are right now. So.
You're not doing too badly.
I'm doing okay. I had a little tidy up before I came, just for you two. So,
nice.
But yeah, I'll go get a pros to it.
Well, you don't know how big this could be. There could be thousands of single women watching you right now.
Yeah.
If you fancy a bit of Dave Bell, let us know. We'll.
Yeah, if you wanna come try out my well-refined pasta and beans dish, so I'm not letting that go. I'm not letting it go. I'm going to screw you over in front of all your followers. So
Listen, if you haven't tried it, don't knock it.
I'm gonna try it. Like, I'm gonna make Tom cook it for me, and just to see what atrocity or whether it's actually good, because not every recipe.
I'll do it. We'll see. Next time we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, it's been absolutely awesome, and I've learned so much during this episode that I'm hoping to apply it into my everyday life. So on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.